instruments, drink some tea, and eat some snacks because it's ready for Between Nerds time. I'm here, Aldo Mendez, your co-host, with Julius and our special guest, Joel Martinez.
Hi guys, welcome to Between Nerds. My name is Drew Philip Elias, and as Aldo mentioned, we have a special guest here in Nerd Headquarters with us, Mr. Joel Martinez, the terror of local himself, the Madolce Queen. Joel, thanks for coming by, buddy. What's up?
Hey, thanks for having me. I just like this anime a lot. Thanks for having me.
Which anime? What are we talking about?
We're talking about K-On! Today.
Season 2.
Hell
yeah. Have you listened to our past episodes?
Yeah, I listened to the first episode and
on K-On! Season 1.
Okay,
on
season one, of course.
Yeah. I was listening to you guys on that.
He hates how I pronounce K-On!
Yeah, it kind of bothers me. I kind of say K-On!
¿Qué onda?
Yeah.
I say ¿qué onda?
¿Qué onda?
¿Qué onda?
Pero, like, I don't like saying K-On! Because it's like K-On! Like I own you, but it's like, it's kind of...
It's because he's racist.
Hey, that's how they pronounce it in the sub. I'm sorry, I'm cultured and you guys aren't. But at the beginning of this episode, I do want to go over a couple of our plugs for At Between Nerds. For the month of December, please use hashtag OurNerdsMatter. That is hashtag OurNerdsMatter in an original tweet or Instagram post to be entered into our December giveaway. At the end of the month, we will randomly select a winner that used hashtag OurNerdsMatter, and we will get them some cool anime merchandise giveaway nonsense. You'll love it, I promise.
Yes, and we do have a winner for the past month, which was Nerds for the Homeless hashtag. But we will do that at the end of this episode.
Right. The winner of last month's November giveaway that used hashtag Nerds for the Homeless in an original tweet will be announced at the end of this episode during the Nerd Down.
Mm-hmm. And also, please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and any podcast. Subscribe to any what your podcast platform is. And if you have any concerns, suggestions, you want to vent out to us about your nerdy needs and concerns, just hit us up at betweennerspodcast@gmail.com and we'll be reading the shits. Honestly,
I promise we read every single email. It's a bunch of junk so far.
Yeah, so far it's just junk folder. But, I mean, K-On! Season 1 to me is... I feel like I talk about it the same that I talk about Yu Yu Hakusho. Mm-hmm. Because Yu Yu Hakusho, to me, is what I want from a 90s anime.
Right.
And for this to be recent, not that recent, but like, but new age anime.
Not really. I've said before that, for me, I think like late 2000s is like peak modernism.
Okay.
Yeah. I would consider right now like a postmodernism period. Like everything's like a satire of everything that came out in the 2000s.
It's because I just feel that K-On! Has a lot of elements that we still see in modern anime, even though it was early.
K-On! Season 1 is the exact same distance from Yu Yu Hakusho as it is to right now. Mm-hmm. 2008, Yu Yu Hakusho came out in 1993. It's 15 years. We're about like 13 years removed from K-On! Right now.
Mm-hmm. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I can put K-On! In the same age as Yu Yu.
Right.
But I can put it in the same age as My Hero. I can put it in the same age as...
But see, that's where I'm disagreeing. That's yeah. It's just
so well animated and it's so pure to me.
Oh my god! I thought you were going to go in a negative direction with this whole time.
No. Like the animation, the mimics, the visual jokes.
The character modeling is excellent. Every character model on screen is A1.
There was one episode. I can't remember the exact episode. I have it on my notes somewhere. But there's it's the one where they're... Oh, yeah, I remember now. It's coming to me. It's the one where they're running the marathon. Uh-huh. There's a biker that just like... It's just a biker just like on going up a hill. And the way it's animated is really... It's perfect. It's really well. Like, you could see his kneecaps like moving.
Oh, yeah,
it's really good. It's like... I love the animation on this. So, yeah, I do agree that it's like postmodern. Like, it's like... Starting from that era, it's like peak animation time now.
No, absolutely. Like and I'm glad you brought that up because that's already like midway through the season. It's episode like 15 marathon tournament, whatever.
Yeah, I think
it compared to season 1, like directorially or like storyboard wise, season 2 is a lot more like one-off episodic stories. Which is funny that you brought up like the marathon first. Like I almost forgot that happened because it's not tied into the bigger narrative really. Because like we talked about it in our season 1 episode. Season 1 is 12 episodes encompassing 2 years. Their freshman and junior years.
Correct.
And then all of season 2, the 24 episodes, is just them in their senior year of high school. So you're getting half as much in twice as much like screen time.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I feel like we agree on this, that even though the first episode was 12 episodes, you said?
The first season was 12
I mean,
episodes.
the first season was 12 episodes. Our payout as an audience is when they get practicing, when they get to play. So everything else is just not filler, but
It's teasing you.
it's teasing you. Exactly.
Yeah, and then opposed to like the season 2, they're always playing now. You hear more of their songs playing. It's mostly just like
They actually have like 5-6
there's-
songs this time.
Fun
Yeah.
fact: the anime released an album, a complete album in Japan
That's fire.
that charted number 1.
They sharded.
It charted. How do you say it? My bad. I'm Mexican. But it was number 1 for a whole week, topping real artists.
Yeah, have you heard
You
the
know?
songs?
Yeah. The songs are really good.
They're great.
The second intro to season 2
it's
is like
amazing.
probably my favorite OP in a while.
It's so much fun.
Because it's
Absolutely.
punk. And then it's like, what's ironic about this being an anime about girls in a band is that the ending songs and the opening songs need to be canon to the story. So they couldn't do something super random because then it just wouldn't fit like the rest of the narrative. So them telling us that these girls fucking rock, even though they're always just singing about fucking tea and pastries.
It feels out of place because the songs are so punk, but then you see this delicate, dumb, fun girls just having their high school experience.
At least one of them's really dumb and fun.
I mean, they're all doing their own thing throughout.
And like if you listen to the lyrics of the song, they're really cheesy and really like lighthearted, and it's like it's something a high schooler would write.
Fuck it, I love it.
But it's mushy and it's delicious. It's like it's just really.
There's like one really sentimental one, like at the end of season 2 that like choked me up.
God.
Yeah, there's one in the middle. I don't know if I think you're probably talking about You and I.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yui writes a song for her sister. And
Yui writes a song for Ui.
yeah, for Ui.
We
And I love it because it's called You and I, but it's written as You and
I.
the letter I.
Yeah.
Then that's her name, Ui.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. It made me think a lot of Hinamatsuri,
Why?
because a celebration of womanhood.
Have you seen Hinamatsuri?
No, I have not.
What's Hinamatsuri? Hinamatsuri is an anime that probably came out like 2-3 years ago about a government science experiment who's a psychic.
I think it was just an alien, wasn't it? From
She
a
was
dimensional
something
being.
science fiction premise for a girl that's transported into a yakuza's apartment, and he has to raise her as his daughter. And she's also like a badass psychic. So imagine like Mob Psycho 100, except with like 80% more estrogen.
And it's awesome, but like throughout the season, like I said, it just teases you with them practicing or not practicing, because they don't fucking practice. They're like between nerds. We don't fucking do anything. We'll just jump on the mic.
Instead of we drink White Claws, they drink Tahi.
Yeah,
It's the only difference.
we don't need delicious desserts.
Aldo hasn't fed us in months. In like the characters in K-On! Like they fit, like they mesh, you know what I mean? But the one thing that I always, the back of my mind always want to pick on is that one of the members of the band is obscenely rich. So there's a lot of like stories around just because she's rich, you know what I mean? Just because this group of friends has the one rich girl, they can go practice out at a beach resort.
Yeah, but I like how they use that aspect of her being rich instead of being like, oh, we should get like the best instruments and let's just go cop them on what's her name?
Mugi?
Mugi's account. You know what I'm saying? They never did that. Mugi almost doesn't know that she's rich.
Yeah. So the thing about it, like, well, her full name is Titsumugi Kodabuki, and the thing
Is it right?
yeah, the thing I love about her is that she's so innocent in the world. Like you could tell, like she's a spoiled rich girl, but she doesn't want to be. She sees like everything so.
She wants to learn.
Yeah, she wants to learn about like normal society, about the peasants. You know.
Have you seen Love Is War?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Kaguya?
Kaguya.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Kaguya a little bit. Like, and like, so to Mugi, the benefit, she doesn't even care about the money. Like, it literally means nothing for her. Like, her just having, like, socialization is worth, like, the world to her. So she'll give these girls, like, absolutely everything. Which I'm glad that we were talking about. It's not like they go and buy instruments and stuff. It's almost like amongst the rest of the band, they don't even acknowledge that she's rich.
Correct.
They just kind of get into a situation. Mugi takes care of it because she's rich, and they're just like, huh, that was strange. I wonder how Mugi did that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, this anime could be like a way... It could be like a bad anime if they would really like have that cop-out. Because, like, if they would have used Mugi as, like, oh, let's get, like, instructors or trainers or the best instruments and shit like that, it feels cheap.
Yeah.
And again, like, the music feels canon to the storyline because they make really dumb, happy punk music. So, like, the actual, like, music structure is kind of, like, sporadic because it's punk. You know what I mean? And Yui's guitar playing is all over the place. That's how they act in real life. Like, they're all over the place. They're in no way structured. They barely know what they're doing from day to day.
Correct. If we remember anything from the season 1, Ritsu and Mio were the first members of the club, you know? And in the first season, the main plot line was to get this club together and try to help poor mentally challenged Jui to get her shit done.
Yeah. And like she could have, like Mugi could have just bought her a guitar, you know. But I mean, she worked hard. She worked her ass off trying to get it. Like she didn't even accept the money at first. She's like, no, I can't accept the money that we worked so hard for because it's like I feel bad, you know. But yeah, like you were saying, like with Mugi, you can like just Deus Ex Machina everything. She could just like buy everything you guys want. But she's not like that. She's not like a person that's like, oh, well, just because, you know, I love my friends, but I'm not going to buy these. Like,
I'm not going to buy my friends.
I'm not going to buy my friends.
Correct.
Her personality brought in her friends.
Absolutely. She's great. Yeah. Like, in the fucking anime.
She's great. She's one of my favorites, too. Well, I mean, they're all my favorites, but, you know.
Well, Mio's your favorite, right?
Yeah, Mio is my favorite.
So, how do we want to start this, guys? This is a 24th episode season?
27. You didn't watch the OVAs.
Oh, my bad.
Well, what I was gonna bring up is that in the beginning, there's a problem that's addressed that's kind of never fixed, really, which is kind of disappointing because episode 1, Seniors in season 2, is just about how, like, our main cast of 4 plus the 5th junior is they can't recruit. They literally have no way to recruit new members, and they bring it up once. And it's like a deal for like an episode and a half that they can't recruit any new members into Light Music Club because they have like the stigma for kind of being fuck ups. Like they're always seen like running through the halls of the school, being sporadic. And when it comes to being the beginning of the school year, which is club recruitment time, they don't recruit anybody.
You're right. Now that I remember, I was excited about them having a legacy, like something to be left behind, which I didn't caught up that this was a theme of the season until like last 2 episodes.
One of the OVAs deals with it like really hard too.
Yeah,
it's really sad.
God damn it.
It's really sad.
But yeah, I was really excited about them trying to do a little networking, but they never do.
Yeah, the thing is, in that first episode, the recruitments, yeah, they're trying to find a couple new members because they know Azuna's going to be alone. But I want to say, just like, not really a spoiler, but like in the manga, there's a manga entire volume called K-On! High School, where June and Ui, they joined the Light Music Club because they're already friends with Azuna.
So Ui's Yui's sister and June was in the jazz club?
Yeah, she's in the jazz club. And they joined the Light Music Club because they already know Azuna, they already know things like that. They already know.
So it's Uwe on guitar.
Yeah, Uwe on guitar, and then I think June. I'm not too sure, honestly.
No,
I haven't read the manga, but I haven't read the K-On! Manga, the K-On! High School, just because I really don't like Azuna that much, and it just K-On! High School focuses on her.
Azunya?
Azunya.
Oh,
she's the best. I like Azunya a lot.
Her development was not crazy, but what she had as far as her, she kept the same energy the entire fucking season too, which got me sad towards the end. But she being the underclassman, she's like, "Come on, guys, we gotta practice. Come on, guys, we gotta practice."
She's the adult in the room,
and everybody else is like, let's just fucking.
Can we just have our third cup of tea, please?
Yeah. Well, to me, like that, I don't like. It's your high school, like just enjoy your high school days, just fuck around, who cares? Okay.
But then again,
but
like
you can see the sentiment because she does want to like keep this place going. Like they're gonna leave, I'm not gonna be here by myself. I had to like carry the weights.
Absolutely, my 28-year-old male self. I put myself in this high school girl band member, and I was like, I just want to play, guys.
I thought you were gonna say male son. I was like, you have a 28-year-old son.
No.
And that's I'll relate the beginning to the end because literally the first OVA is just going back on the whole recruitment thing, and Azunya kind of just like accepting that like they're never going to be able to recruit anybody because she doesn't want to replace her bandmates because like she, even though they're all super friendly, like we're discussing everybody's first name. I can't remember the last time we talked about an anime that it was really everybody's first name. Even Yu Yu Hakusho, like they call Urameshi even though his name's Yusuke because like it's that Japanese like honor system. You call everybody by their last
Respect shit, yeah.
Even like in My Hero, they always use their last names. Like I don't even know Deku's first name. I really don't. So.
Izuku Midoriya.
Yeah.
Izuku Midoriya.
So yeah.
So they're like really close. So they always call themselves by their first name.
A lot of the only animes that we talk about where they literally only go by first names is when everybody has the same fucking last name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that shows like that attests to how close these girls are. They're a family. Like and the reason I'm bringing that up, Azunya still calls everybody senpai at the end. So she'll be like, Mugi senpai, Yui senpai. So she still like kind of looks up to them like senpais, which is like worse. And that's why I don't get how you don't like Azunya, because like every time I think about like that dynamic, how she's on the short end of the stick, I feel so bad for her.
And she feels like she's at the short end of the stick, but I mean, towards the end of the season, no spoilers or anything, but like, they're like, no, dog, like, we fucking love you. You're a fucking homie. Oh, God.
That's what one of the OVAs is about, is that, like, the girls are in college, and they come back, and they're like, let's plan, like, a couple of trips, and we'll take us. That's what the movie's about. The last OVA sets up the movie.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, they don't forget about her, which is like, oh, my God, like, you really do care.
Mm-hmm.
And in season 1, Azunya actually knows how to play guitar. The whole point of season 1 is that Yui picked up a guitar one day and just decided she was going to try to learn how to play guitar.
Yeah.
And so to see that like Yui really is more of the natural talent kind of also makes me feel bad for Azunya, because she's like, I have to practice, I have to do what I want to do, but Yui is just like this ADHD. Like this
airhead, ADHD airhead,
learning development kind of
spectrum-ish.
That she needs, like, she's just naturally good at it. She can't focus on studying because she just always wants to pick up her guitar because she can't stop thinking about it. It's like, not to sound dumb, but sometimes when I play Yu-Gi-Oh, this can sound super. This can sound super.
Oh, you're sounding dumb already.
But when I'm after like a day of playing Yu-Gi-Oh or something, I'll think about like my plays throughout the rest of the day.
You're like, I could have done this.
Yeah, no, exactly. It sticks with you like the rest of the night. Like if you make one misplay, even if you win or lose, you'll think about that one misplay the rest of the night.
No, I can relate to that, because I mean that happened Tuesday to me.
What, you guys talk to your cards to you?
No, yeah, like
you guys tuck him in at night too.
Sometimes,
absolutely.
Yeah, I put him in the sleeves.
I'm just like, go ahead.
Because I had we're playing against like someone who was playing DPE
at TCG Battleground.
Yeah, and he used DPE, Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, and he didn't activate the effect to bring it back. And I called him, and I called him out on it, but like...
You let it happen?
Yeah, I let it happen because it's kind of like... I don't know, I don't want to be like confrontational, but like I know that he didn't know. And
I shock everybody. Nobody fucking likes me.
So, but yeah, I mean, you guys put up good points for our Azuna, but I'm just like, I don't like. She's the least my favorite. She's the least favorite.
No, I get
but
it.
you still like her.
She's I guess
no,
I like it's everyone else and then her.
And then her. Okay. And then I believe that right after this whole recruitment issue, we go into learning that they all got in the same class together as far as the main three.
Which is such like a narrative cop-out. Like,
yeah, but it makes sense in the narrative cop-out kind of thing. Because Sawako is going to be the new new homeroom teacher. She wants to have people that she already knows. She already she already knows the students from other clubs.
Sawako is the what's her title in season 1? She's the like director of the club. She's like the faculty representative for like the club or whatever.
For musical clubs basically. Right.
But she's kind of like a younger teacher. Like she's only like 25, 26, so she's younger than everybody in this room.
So the thing about Japan is that you wanna keep up appearances. And she was an old member of the musical club. When she was in that school.
Of the light music club.
On the light music club.
But back then, they didn't really play light music. They played death metal.
Yeah, so she's a rock star, but she's trying to keep up appearances. And then in this season, she's trying to keep up her appearances even more because now she's a
homeroom teacher.
A homeroom teacher.
Right. It's I haven't brought up Persona 5 in a while, but it reminds me of a character in Persona 5 where the homeroom teacher in Persona 5 is so broke that she has to be a maid part-time, and you as the protagonist have the opportunity to call her up and have her just like clean your room as this stupid maid. But in the professional setting, she tries to pretend like she wasn't just with you the rest of the night. Mm-hmm. So, and that's kind of like the same, like, it's not the same vibe we get here, but there's like a double-faced perspective on Sawako because she's really, really close with the Light Music Club, with the girls in the modern Light Music Club. Like, they call her Sawako. That's literally her first name. She should be Yamanake, like, teacher or whatever. Like,
are you not using makeup today?
They talk about her not having a boyfriend all the time.
Yeah, they talk shit to her, but like it's just like that dynamic.
Yeah,
like it. The reason I like K-On! A lot is because like if you had like a high school experience, like it relates to my high school experience basically because I had a choir teacher and we would always talk shit to her. We would always like be friends with her.
You said choir?
Yeah, I was in choir.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was in choir and we would always talk back with the teacher. The teacher would always talk back to us, but we had a really good close connection. And if we saw her like outside of school, we'd be like, "Hey, what's up? How are you? What's going on?"
But it was a mutual understanding.
Yeah, it was a mutual understanding.
Yeah.
And that's why I could relate to them so much because I had that same mutual relationship with the teacher before.
So, like Aldo was saying, Sawako fudged the books here a little bit and made sure that all the girls she was comfortable with were in the same class. And this is an all-girls school. So, like, I don't know why I didn't pick up on that in season 1.
Dog,
really?
I picked it up.
I was really like, why are there no dudes ever?
I didn't even care, bro. I didn't pick up on it until, like, the last 2 episodes.
There's a fun fact that I think the entire season, only 7 male characters. I think 7 or 10.
Yeah,
it's really low that it's just like male characters actually come on in the end.
It's like somebody's brother. It's like Ritsu's brother.
Character.
That's right, Ritsu's brother.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's dad maybe one time.
There's a baseball player that they're in the cages and he just kind of shows up to play.
Yeah. There's the guy from the guitar store.
You know when it hit me? It hit me in the play episode.
Why?
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, because the whole cast is girls.
Correct.
They don't have a dude to cast as Romeo.
I was like, oh shit, this is an all girls school.
Honestly, even then it didn't click with me. It wasn't until that Sawako was talking about the girls applying to the same all girls school. I was like, why would they fucking do that? That sounds lame. And all girls college? That sounds fucking lame. And then I was like, oh, it's because they're used to it. Like they just graduated from an all girls high school.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, fucking stupid.
Sawako, trying to have an easier time as a new homeroom teacher, she puts these girls in her classroom.
Right.
Because she knows they're not going to be any trouble, even though they're highly hyperactive.
Yeah, especially Ritsu. Like I think the first episode she already gets mad at Ritsu for
not turning in a fucking paper or some shit. Yeah. Like
Ritsu's the drummer here is technically the club president.
Correct.
She is.
But she doesn't do shit.
She's literally the worst club president. Like anytime they need to reserve like a room to practice or a room to perform or a time to perform, during like the school festival or whatever, she never even submits the paperwork on time.
The air conditioning.
Yeah.
The air conditioning thing. The only reason they're ever able to get anything for the club is because Yui's childhood best friend, Nodoka, is like the student council president.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And she kind of fixes everything. She's like, okay, pues I understand that you're out there. But I help you guys out this time. And then they just kind of
she does so much for the club.
Yes.
Right. She's like the unspoken hero of like the light music club. Like, what would get done without Sawako or Nodoka?
Correct.
Exactly. If they didn't have those, then probably that club would be already disbanded. We never know.
And what I was talking about season 2 is there's like one-off episodes. You know what? You'll just get like a random Ritsu episode that's like, oh, I don't like how I look in the back of our recordings because I'm the drummer. I need to refine myself one episode. You get episodes about them just randomly cleaning the club room and just having tea and fucking around and trying to clean the turtle tank.
Yeah.
But in the beginning of season 2, the first like multi-episodic like storyline is just about them going on a school trip. Mm-hmm. There's no music involved. There's no performance involved. There's no practicing. It's just about them going to Kyoto and like buying souvenirs and stuff and just like refining themselves like within the band.
And they leave Asunya behind, right? Because this is a senior trip. Yeah. I really liked the part with the turtle for some reason. I don't know why.
What was it? Pig-nosed
Monchan?
turtle?
Yeah, it's a pig-nosed turtle. His name is Tonchan.
Tonchan. From what I read in the manga, he is mentioned but never showed.
Oh.
And then, so that's why I guess they made an episode for specifically for Monchan, right?
Tonchan.
Yeah.
He's like a really like. There's a few episodes entirely about Tonchan and what they're gonna do with Tonchan.
Yeah, because
he's
kind of like he's like the small member.
He's the most prominent male character in the anime.
Basically, yeah.
This pig-nosed turtle is literally the most prominent male character in this entire anime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and, you were talking about episode 2 and 3. 2 where they're cleaning up the club room, and then 3 where Ritsu's kind of complaining that, oh yeah, I'm kind of in the back all the time. And I don't want to play drums.
She watches like a Who concert.
Yeah.
Oh, and one specific plot point to cleaning out the closet was that they were finding out like their personal belongings and personal belongings to the people that were in the club before them, and they find Sawako's old guitar that was never touched for who knows how long.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That's one of my favorite episodes.
I think so too.
And they sell it for club funds.
Yeah,
those bitches.
They sold it for $4,300.
That's a lot of money for a high school club.
Yeah. in that episode, it's great because Sawako was like, I don't even care about the guitar. It's like, sell it and whatever you get from it, use it for the club. But then
just show me the receipts.
Our homegirls go to fucking Guitar Center here in El Paso.
The one that Mugi owns.
Correct. Her family owns
her family owns the company that owns the other company.
So they're like executives like to the top. And they go and the guy's like, well, this guitar hasn't been taken out of the case for a long time. No warps, no scratches.
And the girls were complaining that it smelled old. Yeah. They're like, it smells like dust and mold.
No dust. And they're like, oh, well, the best I can do for you is like $5,000.
They're tripping. They're like, wow, that for high school people, that's a lot of money.
That's an insane amount. I remember thinking $100 was a lot of money in high school.
And me and Drew have talked about like the educational system of how to get like kids so involved in their clubs and stuff. So like $5,000 for the club that you're interested in is like, it has to be like a lottery ticket at this point.
What did they even spend it on?
No, they couldn't spend it on.
They were trying to figure out what trying to spend it on, and they're planning. Oh, we should get like this drum pedal. We should get this amplifier, and they're talking it over during lunch. And they're just like imagining things, and Moogie's just like, "What are you guys imagining about? Like, what are you guys thinking about? Like,
because she's oblivious to money.
Yeah, she's oblivious to money, and Yui, being the airhead that she is, she just wants to get smacked with the money.
Yeah, because
and like thinking about it, like for real, just get smacked with $5,000.
Like she literally wanted to get domed with the money. Like she wanted somebody to take out those stacks in cash and just slap her across the face with it.
I think at some point the dialogue was like, "Are we gonna tell Sawako about how much we got?"
And then she shows up to the club room and she's like, "What happened with that guitar? Show me the receipt."
And they're like panicking.
Yeah,
they should have like strategized it, probably scam her a little bit, but then she's asking for the receipts, and Ritsu's like, well, and she eats the receipt.
Yeah, she does.
And then the girls are cheering her on. Just eat it, swallow it, swallow it. And Sawako takes it out of her mouth, and she's like, "You got this much for the guitar?" He's like, "Yeah, we got this much." And he's like, "You know what? I was gonna give you all of it, but since you guys lied to me, I'm only gonna give you some of it."
Out of principle, Sawako's like, "Here's $100." And do whatever you want with it. I would have given it all to you. You guys were trying to play me. And this is where Yui comes in. It's like, hold on, before you take the money,
slap me
with it. Slap me as hard as you can. But like the hilarious part of like this animation and K-On! at its whole is that Sawako is just like gently slaps her with the money. She's like, oh, yeah.
She understands being in that situation. She's like, yeah, just give you a slap.
Hilarious episode.
Like Sawako's never been slapped with money.
Hilarious.
So they're preparing for a field trip, right?
Yes.
And what's funny is that apparently they're making a big deal about planning out buying souvenirs for everybody. Yui especially, because Yui's our airheaded. She's the would-be protagonist. She's the write-in protagonist.
Yeah,
really.
she is.
Most things are through Yui's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why it's easy for the audience to follow along, because Yui's so clueless. She's never gonna like lay up a plot point for you. It's like you're discovering it with our dumbass character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like Sunny in Philadelphia. Like someone comes into the bar and then that's the plot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, we follow it through Yui says.
And I can't, honestly, I don't even know what the significance of the field trip is. I've been sitting here listening to you guys talk about selling the guitar for 10 minutes, and I was trying to relate this couple of field trip points, episodes 4 and 5 here, to the rest of everything else. And honestly, I can't. It's the girls have an extended sleepover out of town.
Yes, and I mean, I guess what I could say about that is just like really putting down for the audience that Sawako is trying to be like strict in some way, because even though they get to spend the night together and stuff like that, it's supposed to be a fun time and, you know, talk bullshit all night, but then Sawako comes in every night and is like, lights out, motherfuckers. It's like, you guys gotta go to sleep. And the whole thing, it was Asunya is feeling lonely. She's like, oh, I bet they're having so much fun, but they're really not.
Damn, you remember the shit out of this, bro.
I had to look at my notes.
Yeah, there's a whole episode just about Asunya talking with...
she's hanging out with
the jazz club girl and Ui.
Yeah, Ui is...
That's the second part. As you were saying, that's chronologically, it's the first part we see it through the seniors' point of view, and then the second part we see it through high school's point of view.
Correct.
So... and like you said, I honestly don't know the significance of this field trip, but just have fun. Go through Kyoto.
Well, now that you're bringing it up, the second episode matters more here. The episode with Asunya, because everyone knows, like the Light Music Club is like famous at school, right? Like you have a whole ass like performing rock band at your school.
Mia already showed her panties. The little class.
Right, that was actually a really big plot point during the school performance.
But it's an all girls class, so I don't know why you think it's a big point here.
Well, the anime made it a big deal.
Yeah,
know,
it's a couple of episodes in.
Because she has a fan club.
Yeah, she gets a fan club because they feel bad for her and they really like her. So,
but episode 5 here, staying behind, is significant because everyone's literally asking Azunia like, what do you even do all day while the seniors are gone? And she's like, a whole lot of nothing. I just sit around missing them and wishing that they were here so we could practice.
And there's also like a subplot with Ui that she doesn't really want to tell her classmates how useless Yui is.
Because everyone like looks up to her, kind of.
Correct.
Yeah. She's an upperclassman, and she's a great performer. She's got all this personality, but it's just like, how do I tell everybody my sister's an idiot?
Mm-hmm. And Ui's a responsible adult in there.
Correct. There's even like a piece of dialogue where Yui is like, "Oh, she yells at me all the time," but it's just about like, can you pick up your dishes or something? And like nothing crazy, but she's like, "Oh, she's so mean."
Yeah, Yui's really dramatic, especially with all the adults in her life. I don't know why Yui's like that. I'm glad I don't know anybody like that in my life that's overly dramatic. But
What'd you say to me?
Nothing. That. So again, we get like these one-off episodes. We get a whole episode about Yui leaving her guitar inside of the club room on a rainy day, and she spends the rest of the episode just missing her guitar named Gita, and just she misses it so much she grabs it in the club room the next day, takes it to homeroom, and the teacher yells at her.
Yeah.
And that's a whole episode. There's a whole episode about
just that. And then when I was watching that episode, I kind of thought Yui's kind of spoiled for like the light music club. They always take care of her, and
even the teachers, the faculty just lets her get away with whatever. Like no one cares.
Yeah, like Azuna will try and help her replace the strings on Gita because she never learned that you're supposed to replace strings on a guitar. Mm-hmm. So Azuna helps her out with that. They're always getting they get plastic for the guitar so they can protect it.
During the rain season, right?
Yeah, during the rainy season. Yeah, I mean, to me, she's spoiled, but in a good way. Like, they really care about her because you know that Yui's really airheaded, so they're going to, like, protect her, make sure she's okay.
And I love the one, I can't remember in what episode, but when they are changing the strings, Yui is, like, having a conversation with her guitar. She's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm going to do this to you." And, like, she cuts one string. And as someone that knows vaguely about instruments, I mean, you loosen that shit up before you snap it, or you take it off from there. Do you play any instruments?
Yeah, well, I used to play some guitar, some drums. So like, yeah, you're supposed to loosen the strings on the guitar before you replace them, because then you can get smacked and like people have gotten hurt.
Correct. And then in the animation part, she cuts the string, but the string like
gently
taps her. She's like, "How could you do that to me?"
Yeah, and if you tighten the strings too much on the guitar, yeah, you can like warp the guitar as well.
And then I believe there's another piece of dialogue where even before, I don't know if it was before she changes her strings or after, it's like, you better not. I know it was around the rainy season because somebody's like, if your
guitar gets moisture,
shaft,
yeah.
If what is it?
I can't remember what it's called.
The neck.
The neck.
Yeah, if your neck gets any kind of moisture, it's gonna get warped, and then it's gonna be out of tune. It's gonna be hard to tune it. Mm-hmm. And then Asunya, being a expertise guitar player, she's like, "Yeah, look how this sounds," and like, bling, and she strokes a note, and then she's like, "Oh, okay, sounds good." And then Yui is like, she strokes the same note. She's like, "Oh shit, this shit's off by like half of a turn." And Asuna, and as an audience, you're like, "How does this useless spectrum girl?"
So so she has perfect pitch, and like in music, that's like amazing. You're not a lot of people have perfect pitch, and like she can tune her guitar without a tuner. It's like, people who can play like that are really good guitar players.
That's like Rayman shit.
Yeah. That's Jimi Hendrix stuff right there.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa. Jimi Hendrix was just referenced in an anime.
Yeah?
Yeah. they reference a lot of bands here. Like you were saying, The Who. Jimi Hendrix. I'm thinking the... Zeppelin. When they do the recruitments, they get into costumes of animals, which is kind of reminiscent to the Beatles in Magical Mystery Tour.
They reference Van Halen's guitar playing. Yes. They reference...
the drummer from...
all American bands.
And moves, too. Like, if you see them, like, while they play... Like, it's just noticeable moves of, like, people that are, you know.
Honestly, one of the first standout episodes for me, like, in, like, this first half of season 2 is episode 7, and that's about the fan club. It's about the Mio fan club. Mm-hmm. So, how do they even find out? They find out that there's a fan club for the bass player, Mio. And then Mio is trying to figure out how this started and who, like, is the organizer for all this. And then there's, like, an extended flashback between Ritsu and Mio, describing a flashback with a senior that already graduated about how she didn't want to admit that she started the Mio fan club. And Mio is, like, the most, like, conservative member here besides maybe Mookie. Mm-hmm. And so, like, Moogie, but so her having, like, a gang of girls, like, fawning over her is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, so it starts with Mio thinking she has a stalker. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's kind of feels uncomfortable, like, why are people looking at me? But in that extended flashback, we find out that one of the seniors she wanted to create a fan club for Mio. Mm. And once things get rolling, that senior, she creates a fan club for her, and they have cards and stuff, and she kind of passes the baton to Nodoka, and she's like, hey, take care of this fan club for us.
Nodoka being the class president.
Yes.
So Nodoka does it, like, reluctantly, because she knows anybody else would be, like, super toxic about it, but at the same time she's, like, allowing it to exist within, like, the school's organization. Mm-hmm. So the most significant part of that for me is we finally, like 7 episodes into season 2, get a performance from the Light Music Club. Finally. So we get, like, Ritsu as Mio's best friend does, like, a PowerPoint being like, these are all the great moments.
And it's just her and then Mio in the background. They have, like, a quinceañera-ass slideshow and stuff like that. And they perform that. Well, I think, is it the performance first or Mio? She wrote some lyrics to a song, and I'm not too sure if it's.
I think the slideshow is the end.
The slideshow was in the middle.
Was it in the middle? Okay.
I think the performance is the end, but Mio starts writing. She gives out these lyrics to a song that she's been writing, and if you want to listen to the song's called "Heart-Throbbing Sugar," and it's really cheesy, really just about, like, sweets and stuff like that, and how, like, it makes her heart beat and stuff like that.
And all songs written by Mio are like that.
Yeah, they're really cheesy and, like, really fluffy, and, like, I think Sawako says that they're really, like, itchy, and it's like, it's like really it's too sweet for me. It's like too good for me.
And if you think about it, I mean, Mio is the one that they always want to, like, they want to pamper her. Like, they want to make her feel in a safe spot, you know, a safe place. So they always, like, it's okay, don't be scared, because she's a scary cat. She's the shy girl. She doesn't want to perform. She didn't want to be the singer in the first season. But...
Which is why, like, in season 1, the only song you ever hear is Fua Fua Time.
Yeah, and you hear it a lot through the season 2. You just kind of, like...
Because you tune it out. You tune out Fua Fua Time.
Because it's, like, it's already, like, it's already established that that's, like, their number 1 hit, I guess.
I wouldn't be mad to look for a vinyl of this fucking song.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be really nice.
Their songs slap, like, really good. If you, like, listen to the actual songs, they're really good.
Like I was telling you, like, I was reading that they made an album for, like, as marketing for the anime, and that thing, oh, holy shit, and that thing was top, like, number 1 for a week in Japan, and that was the only fictional artist album that ever did that.
Yeah, I think the song that's played in this episode, it's called Pure Heart.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, that's the one they perform for the club.
So K-On!, like, as an anime is, like, insanely popular. And you can see that between season 1 and season 2. Like, season 1, like I already talked about, is, like, a quarter of the content, and season 2 being, like, 4 times as much in twice as many episodes. They did that because they could sustain the popularity for that long, or the studio felt they could. Plus 3 OVAs, plus a movie. And, like, Joel talking about, like, the sub-stories in the light novels and the manga, I'm surprised that there hasn't been a campaign to try to adapt them. I don't
Yeah,
know why that hasn't happened.
So yeah, that kind of bothers me too because I really want to see season 3, and there's material for it because, like I said, there's K-On! High School, which is the senior years for the last 3 girls, Azuna, Yui, and June,
Yes.
and there's a K-On! College where we see the perspective of the girls going to college and them in the dorms because they live with each other. I think it's Mio and Ritsu, and then Mugi and Yui. And they find in the manga they find another band, and we find out that the singer for the band really admires Mio, and Mio really admires the singer for that band.
Right.
And they kind of play off each other. And it's really good, and there's a lot of material for season 3, but I'm surprised there really hasn't.
From what you're saying, they have hot coals.
Yeah.
In the back burner, bro.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think about is maybe it's because it's Kyoto Animation. Kyoto Animation's the studio that got bombed by one of their own
it was
employees.
the arson attack that happened on their
like 2-3 years ago. So they are producing new stuff, don't get me wrong, but all of their recent releases are Kyoto Animation originals. That way, we talked about this on the podcast before. Like, anime originals, the studio gets to encompass more of the profit. You know what I mean? And Kyoto Animation, trying to rebuild, maybe doesn't have the budget to be sharing 40% of profits on an anime with the mangaka or the publisher.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange too because you're saying original animes. One of the original animes that KyoAni has done, Amagi Brilliant Park. That's a Kyo anime original, and they also haven't done a season 2 for that, and it's really it's a popular anime as well.
I haven't heard. What was it again?
Amagi Brilliant Park. It's really good.
Okay.
Also
2014.
Yeah, I think it's 12 episodes, I believe.
Cool. But that makes perfect sense. I mean, poor
Kyoto Animation.
I mean, it sucks that happened to them when you hear a lot about studios going bankrupt, the studios spending all their money in one certain thing, or them getting overworked where artists can't even continue doing anything. But it seems like they have a lot of material for more, and I'm down for it.
The thing is also producing original music as well, because since all these scores are original, it's kind of harder to make.
And you can put Cowboy Bebop and K-On! Hand to hand as far as
I'm glad you made that comparison, bro.
As far as projecting their material through music, I feel that K-On! Gave you their material with music, and Cowboy Bebop gave you music and wanted to push in some material.
There's a piece of sound design. I'm glad you brought it up. That I kept thinking about. I was gonna bring it up more in the Nerd Down because I want to talk about the Cowboy Bebop live action.
I haven't watched it.
Well, I wasn't gonna spoil anything. I was just gonna talk about.
What can you really spoil?
A lot, actually.
Yeah,
a lot, actually. So, but something I wanted to pick about the directing decisions in the Cowboy Bebop live action is there's a sound design decision in every episode that's infuriating. So the Cowboy Bebop anime, one of me and Aldo had a falling out when we had 10 listeners at the time, because one of our first controversial anime takes was that Cowboy Bebop is not the instant classic that everyone thinks it is. No. It's not perfect, is how we described it. It's a classic, don't get me wrong, but it has things you can pick apart. It has no backbone to it. It's all vibes up front, and then the more you try to dig into it, we're doing even K-On!, you can't.
Honestly, I agree. A lot of people don't agree with that. I know it's a classic. It's a great anime. I love it. It's good. Classic, but I honestly think it's a little bit overrated. Not too much. But it's enough to be okay, pues, I'm going to watch it, and it's good, and I'm going to enjoy it.
It's mindless fun.
Yeah, it's mindless fun. If you've seen Space Dandy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Every time, when I was younger, I would always confuse the two, because they're both space operas and stuff like that, and space adventures. Yeah. And I would confuse them, but Space Dandy, I kind of prefer a little bit more, just because it's a little bit more on the fun side.
Yeah. Because it has more backbone.
It has more backbone.
Yeah.
But the sound design decision I was talking about is in the Cowboy Bebop live action. They tune the music down. If you watch the Cowboy Bebop anime, you'll be even episode 1. I was watching literally episode 1 of the anime last night. the opening scene is silent. Like, there's talking, but it's almost a whisper. And then the opening trumpets start, and it's fucking loud. Like, Karen was doing homework. She yells at me. She's like, can you turn it the fuck down? And, like, because there's that sound design decision that the music's always at the front of the tuning. The Cowboy Bebop live action will put the shitty dialogue at the front and the music in the back, which is absolutely downright dog shit.
It's dog shit.
I agree with that.
But in K-On!, the music is always at the front. Like, it'll be dumb, like, corny girl discussions all episode. The minute somebody picks up a guitar, it's tuned to an 11.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you watched the Beastars?
No, I haven't. I need to get to it, though.
Dude, Beastars is so classic. It's so instrumental. It's so... But... they're not trying to sell you the music like Cowboy Bebop is. You know, what is it? Seatbelts, I believe it's called, the band?
It's Tank. I think it's Tank by Seatbelts.
Right.
By Seatbelts?
Yeah,
but
Tank by
Seatbelts is the main band. They
Yeah.
play like 7 different songs of Seatbelts in Cowboy Bebop. But they're trying to sell you that music instead of trying to sell you the material. In K-On!, you're watching 5 girls just living their life, and once they pick, like you said, once they pick up their instrument, it's like, ooh,
like it's a good like directing decision, that piece of sound design, because it's an attention point for the audience. You know what I mean? If I'm talking about in season 2, it's a lot more fluff that you don't really have to pay attention to, but it will cue you in as an audience, just like, hey, this is what you're focusing in on now. And like the minute your focus is on that and the episode ends, like in this episode, after the girl performs their new song, or no, I think they performed one of the old songs.
No, it's I think Moogie. This was the one that Moogie wrote.
Right.
Your Hearts.
So this is the new original song. Like your focus is all of a sudden on it, like that much more, and then you're hyper focused for this 2 minutes, and then it ends, and you're like, you feel like accomplished with it. You just accomplished something with those girls.
correct.
Yeah. So the next episode, Career, Yui finds out that she hasn't picked a career solution, and every time she submits it to Sawako, she denies it.
Because it's always something stupid. It's
yeah.
like, I want to be a musician. I want to be a rock star. Sawako's just
and then
like,
we could go back to that later in the episode, because Sawako's has a flashback about that.
Uh-huh.
But in this episode, Yui's trying to panic because she doesn't want to be a NEET. Do you guys know what a NEET is?
It's a shut-in NEET. It's like a weeb shut off from the world almost.
Yeah,
A self-outcasted person.
Yeah, basically someone that's not in education, training, or what's it called? NEETs. Then yeah, because it's an acronym. Yeah, it's an acronym.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think there's a whole anime about being called a NEET, and I don't remember what it's called. But go on.
Yeah, and she's trying to figure out what to do, but Yui and everyone else has their things together, but Yui doesn't.
So NEET is an acronym that's a lot meaner than we were giving it credit for. It stands for Not in Education, Employment, or Training.
You know what's funny? There's something equal in Spanish.
What is that?
Es un nini. Ni estudia ni trabaja.
I never heard that before.
Yeah, like ni estudia ni trabaja, and that's what you call him. Is a nini.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard NEETs, but I never heard the Spanish version of it.
Yeah, well, my cousin and shit like that, they studied in Juarez and shit like that, but when you call somebody a nini, it's like, oh, he's a nini. Ni estudia ni trabaja.
That's so mean. I feel like a lot, like, well, maybe it's just because I don't fucking know Spanish, but like a lot of times when I hear Spanish phrases like that, Spanish is so much meaner than English.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so much, it's so much easier to not be PC in Spanish than
That's
in
why.
English.
That's what we're used to bullying.
Yeah.
Hey, gordo, ¿qué pasó?
So then this episode is just an entire episode about Yui kind of having an existential crisis about like trying to figure out her future, because she's the fun dumb girl. Like, she's not supposed to be worried about her future, as opposed to somebody like Mio, who is the top of the class, aces every college entrance exam, gets every scholarship. Like, the world is Mio's oyster.
Yeah, and then Yui is not even like an existential crisis. It's more of that she's embarrassed that she doesn't have a goal.
Same thing. Being embarrassed in high school is literally an existential crisis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But like as an adult, like you're like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do with my life? For her, it's like all my friends are doing something with their life.
I feel like since I became an adult, it's literally nothing but me not knowing what I'm doing in my life.
Yeah, you just kind of wing it.
It's been like that every year since I was like 19.
But you're not concerned about what I'm doing with my life. You're not concerned about what your close friends are doing with their life. It's what you're concerned about. And I feel like Yui is like, it's more of an embarrassment that she doesn't have.
Even Ritsu knows what she's doing.
Exactly.
What the fuck?
And then Yui is always asking the girls too, like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And she kind of like follows them just because she has no direction to go.
Mugi reminds me of everybody I ever met at Texas Tech, because Texas Tech's most popular college is their business college, and that's because Texas Tech is more of like a party school compared to like UT or even A&M, to the point that it's a lot of the people that couldn't get into the UT because they weren't like as dedicated. But they all went to the business school because they still had money, and they knew if they just got like a business degree, then they're going to go work for daddy's company.
Yeah.
I met like pretty much like half the people I met at Tech were like that. It was either like, hey, my parents are literally Indian immigrants, and if I don't become a doctor tomorrow, we're going to be poor. Or it's like, I come from a rich family, I'm just not dedicated to school, and this is why I'm here.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but like this is where Nodoka has like a sit down, a tea party with the rest of the girls while Yui is trying to figure out what to do with her life.
Because she's Yui's mom.
Yeah. And she's telling like stories of flashbacks of like her knowing Yui ever since preschool. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, dog. Like, this anime is so pure to me.
Yeah.
I love it.
It manages to really stay untainted, like, the whole time.
Yeah, and just Nonoka talking about how Yui was, like, her first friend, because in preschool she was like, hey, do you want to color with me? It's like, yeah, let's color. And, like, Yui's spectrum brain is trying to eat crayons, but she doesn't let her. And then again, she's like, oh, I want to be a kindergarten teacher because all I want to do for the rest of my life is just play with kids the entire day. Mm-hmm. And that was one. And this is like what brings like the episode to an end, of her just not knowing what to do because she's so sporadic mentally.
Yeah, in the first season, we see Yui, just being like airheaded and doing stuff like that. And I didn't really like her, but when you see this episode, you kind of see that she was always like this, but that's her personality. And it's really heartwarming to see that. Like when she asked Nodoka to color, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd be your friend too. Just ask me to color with you and we'll be friends. And it's really, when we see Yui, just we understand her from Nodoka's point of view as being a friend, just as like a regular
girl in a sense. I get your point, and let me ask you guys this: like,
no,
I've had a conversation with Drew before about like the some of the topics and some of the animes that we watch that are not directly said, but would this anime be better if they pointed out that Yui was? Would it be progressively better if Yui was
if they treated her ADHD? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Like if they mention her ADHD, if they mention,
I think it's
like Mob Psycho.
Okay, so Mob Psycho, there's an understanding amongst his family that the guy really has like a social anxiety disorder, right?
And I feel like a lot of animes don't want to say it for some reason.
Well, we've talked about it before. Japan is not progressive when it comes to like
mental illness.
Not illness, but mental conditions. Because we were talking about Fruits Basket 2 months ago. Fruits Basket season 1. There's a trans character, and the reason that's why I wanted to not call it mental illness, because there's a trans character which is a normal phenomenon. It happens to millions of people that identify as something that is not like what medical professionals would identify you as birth, right? Mm-hmm. And they treat her being trans as a disorder, which is not progressive. That, like, the week we were watching that, I was Googling, like, Japanese law and, like, how they treat trans people in the legal system, and it's super ass backwards. Like, you would have thought it was 1850s America. with the way they talk about trans people, because they literally treat it like you need to be institutionalized if you're trans or something like that. And that's not how I read this episode. Like, the way Nodoka talks about Yui, it's more like, just be patient with her. Like, it's not that there's anything wrong with her. She's just a little different, and she needs a different skill set to tolerate her. Like, she is her own person, and she has her own values outside of a traditional system. So if you just give her her space and the support she needs, you'll get her there.
And I love that. I love how Keon went about Yui's personality, character, but do you think it would have made a better progressive anime for them to address it?
I think what I like about K-On! Is that a lot of things are unspoken. And that it is left up to the audience. You know what I mean? Because I was joking about it a little bit during our pre-production meeting when Joel first got here and we were sitting down. There's an understanding between these group of girls that could be seen as... So Ritsu and Mio have a relationship that's super, super close. And the way Ritsu is as a person and her character design, she seems more like sexually fluid. Like, she doesn't seem like, that person's attracted, this person's attracted for X, Y, and Z reasons. She's the most masculine character design out of our group of 5 girls.
Correct.
And the way she talks about her relationships with some of these girls isn't always friendly. It's more like she wants a tied-in relationship with some of these characters. And a lot of that comes down to Mio, but she's not necessarily in a romantic relationship with Mio. Mm. And that being unspoken in season 2 helps me. It's not... I don't even know how to put it.
Yeah, like, I get you, because Ritsu's like the tomboy in the group.
Thank you.
And her relationship with Mio, it's really like she's so close to her that they could like physically contact with each other.
Right.
And that's not even an episode issue later on where Mugi wants to have physical contact with her friends, and she has the whole episode dedicated to like Ritsu trying to smack her, but she just wants that physical attention and that comforts between friends.
Right. And sometimes my point for Ritsu is it doesn't always seem friendly. Mm-hmm. Like, the possessiveness she has towards Mio sometimes is not entirely friendly, but she knows who Mio is as a person, so she knows to give her boundaries like that.
And I'm okay with that being unspoken, because it does bring some volume to the storytelling. Mm-hmm. But I feel that the Yui topic is brought up in the entirety of both seasons.
I see your point. Yeah.
That I feel like I'm okay with what you say about Ritsu and Mio, of it being unspoken, because it's kind of like a
will they, won't they kind
exactly
of thing.
But like the topic with Yui, I feel like since it's the entire structure of like season 1 and season 2, that it should at least be brought up. I'm not shitting on it. It's just that I feel like there should be something said there.
I don't see anything wrong with that opinion.
Yeah,
I'm just saying I like it as is.
I think
there's nothing wrong with it.
It's also like in the early mid 2000s kind of thing.
And I get it.
And like a lot of issues.
People weren't progressive until 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like a lot of people just didn't really care. Like, it just kind of just swung by.
And bro, like this guy was saying about like the trans laws in Japan, like even when you do have surgery and paperwork and stuff like that, they still make you use your like original ID,
which is ass backwards. Imagine you're like fully transitioned and your name's like Jeremy or some bullshit, and you look the way you do fully transitioned. That'd be so like ignorant.
It's like they hold you to your identity that you want to leave. The identity that you want to leave behind, they hold you onto that, and it seems so fucking crazy.
Yeah, the LGBT laws in Japan are kind of just really ass backwards.
Yeah.
Like they won't let you have a hotel if 2 boys are like checking in together. you can't do that. Or like some hotels will let you, but it's kind of restricted. Like,
hey, they're gonna fuck anyway, man.
Yeah.
Why even try to stop them? But so relating to Yui's developmental learning condition, the next episode is literally about the finals. Mm-hmm. And Yui, being the great person that she is, she volunteers to do a performance for her old lady neighbor who's always giving her food and like sugar or whatever her and her sister need because they're usually home alone because their parents work out of town. She volunteered 2 members of the band, including herself, to perform at like an old person community center festival thing.
Oh,
yeah.
So we get a really cool episode that's just Yui and Azunya like character development.
it is amazing because
During finals week.
Yeah, like during finals week, I could barely concentrate on my own things and like my own tests that I'm gonna do, let alone doing that as well as a performance on the side. Like you could say anything you want about Yui, but like I love how dedicated she becomes. Mm-hmm. Because when she's focused on something, she'll nail it to like 110%.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. She volunteers for this performance, which is just gonna be this 2-person performance of full time with just Azunya and Yui, and even the rest of the bandmates are like, bro, we literally have finals this week. We know how hard it is for you to study and just sit down. How are you gonna practice for like revamping the set list for just 2 people and studying for like 3 exams at the same time? Like, it's not gonna happen. But to Joel's point, like, our girl pulls through, you know what I mean? So, like, the episode never leaves it in doubt. Like, you hear from Yui several points in this episode, like, I got this, bro. Why are you worried? I got this. Which, like, if Aldo told me that, like, I'd be 1,000% worried. Like, there's no way I trust Aldo to get something done if he says not to worry about it.
Yeah, he's like, have you watched your episodes? I got it, bro. I'm on episode 2. It's cool.
It's like when you said you watched the OVAs. Like, I knew it wasn't going to happen.
I couldn't find him. I'm sorry, bro. I'll watch him for the movie, and we'll have him back for the movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you can see Azuna's point of view that she's worried. She's like, oh no, what's gonna happen? But she looks out the window at one point and she sees Yui studying. She's like writing down her notes. She's writing how she's gonna do the set list. And you were saying it was a rendition of Fuwa Fuwa Time? Mm-hmm. I believe it's a rendition of Brush Pen Fuda Pen.
My bad.
Because it's a different song. Like I said, I listen to the songs like a lot, so I recognize the songs.
To me, in this episode,
but they play an acoustic version.
Yes.
One of the like hard touching aspects of this, as an audience, they make you feel like the elderly are being left behind at some point, and Yui is trying to do something for the community. Maybe here in America is like a Civil War reenactment. I don't know, but when they bring in the elderly, especially the old lady, and she's so happy when they're singing this, it's just so.
Yeah, it's so wholesome because you can see 2 different generations of just enjoying the music and enjoying the vibe,
enjoying themselves. Exactly, and they love it. They're appreciative of it. It's super nice.
Well, something we know about Japan is that they're one of the only like developed nations with a declining population. Like they have like 40% of their populations over the age of like 60 or something like that. Like everyone's old as fuck in Japan. So it makes sense that the elderly have their own community and events like tailored around them. And what the point you guys were making about this multi-generational kind of intermingling reminds me a lot more about the next episode, which is about Sawaka and her band Death Devil performing for a wedding that somehow the girls were like invited to. And the girls jump up on stage at this wedding because Sawaka is trying to distance herself so much from how she was like a metalhead. That the girls kind of like to push her back into her comfort zone and the cool shit she was doing when she was younger, jump up on stage, try to perform like Death Devil music with the rest of the band because they made friends with her classmates and her bandmates after like a meeting that Sawaka attended, and they followed her around town and then like met up with the girl afterwards, and she was like, okay, well, Sawaka doesn't want to do that. I bet we could formulate this plan to get her involved. So they kind of put the happy tea time with flair.
With the spin on death metal.
Right.
And then they come out and perform, and it's really cute. Yui's kind of messing up a little bit. They literally have little maracas for death metal, and it's like Sawako's getting annoyed. She's like, "Oh, this isn't me. This isn't death metal. This isn't them." And she snaps, and she's like, "You know what? We'll do it. We'll do it our way." She gets up on stage and she starts performing. I love that episode. It's a really good episode because they think that Sawako has a boyfriend at first, and then that's when they realize
she's just meeting up with her old classmates, trying to recruit her for this wedding concert or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's what's cool about like season 2 having so much like free time, is that the every person feels like they get their own episode at one point. It like. Azunya maybe gets like 5 or 6 episodes. We even get Mugi episodes. We get plenty of Miyu episodes. We get plenty of Ritsu episodes. Like literally everyone gets like a fully fleshed character by the end of the season.
A lot of character developments in the season. And as I was saying, you guys were saying that there's albums of the songs. Mm-hmm. There's also albums on Death Devil, which is Sawako's back then, their light music club. Mm-hmm. Their light music club, quote unquote, because it's not really light music, it's really just death metal. Mm-hmm. They have their own albums as well, and they go pretty hard if you listen to them.
Hell yeah. These episodes, these character development unfolding throughout these 27 episodes, it reminds me of those episodes with Fruit Baskets with Toru's best friends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's just a full season of that. Mm-hmm. It's really... You don't... As I'm watching it, bro, like, I'm not thinking of, like, them playing for some reason.
No, you forget what it's about sometimes.
Yeah, I'm watching a K-On... Which it's a play on words with Kyon, which means light music in Japanese.
Right.
And I forget that I'm watching girls about to fucking rock out.
And that's my point. Like, you forget about it for a little bit. Because, like, the next episode we already described is about them, like, not being able to get the air conditioner because Ritsu forgot to submit the paperwork. But then the episode after that is about them going to a summer music festival with the teacher, mm-hmm. and I'm just, and then all of a sudden I'm reminded, I'm like, oh, duh, like, they're fucking music aficionados, like, they're in a band, like, they're trying to learn how to do this shit by watching professionals.
And honestly, that was another, one of my other favorite episodes of mine, because...
Music festivals are rough. I'm glad they're equally as rough in Japan.
I'm glad that Sawako even brings it up as a point, because, like, are you guys ready for this? Like, you're going to be in the sun for hours. You guys are going to be in a tent for hours. It's going to suck.
You guys are going to smell like shit. We're going to live
feel
out
like shit.
Absolutely, bro. And I love how the take on Sawako was. Mm-hmm. Like, they set up camp, and she was like, do we have sunscreen? Do we have mosquito repellent? Do we have water? What kind of shoes are you wearing? Are you dumb? You're not going to wear heels, dumbass?
She was wearing she was wearing heels, right?
Like, and then, slides, like the flats. Yeah. Not sneakers was the point.
And then Yui has to give Mugi her slippers, right?
Right.
Because she's just wearing flats, and she's going to be terrible for her.
Do we have raincoats? Do we have this? And for somebody that has been to a music festival... sometimes you see people out there just fucking having a bad time. Having an evil time because they don't have water, they don't have food.
They took drugs from the wrong person.
It's fucking wild. But, like, the fact that they talked about things that I have talked to with my friends, like, hey, man, like, my band is going to be here at this point. We can be at this other stage at this time to watch this band perform.
Yeah.
And it was so natural. It was so organic. It's so...
It felt like real writing. Like, it felt like the author really knew what he was writing about here. Like, it's, at least from the source material. Because it's like, like what Aldo's talking about. They're laying out their plan for the day. It's just like 8 o'clock, this band main stage. 7 o'clock, this band that stage. We can split up at this time because this person wants to watch this band and this other person wants to watch this other band at the other side of the fairgrounds.
Yeah, even me, I was like trying to planning and calculate if I run this much of distance, will I make it to this stage and then run to the other stage?
Which, like, if you've ever seen the weirdos like running between stages, those guys are fucking losers.
Hey man, there's people that love music, and I don't blame them, bro. Like if you're catching the last song of a DJ set at this stage, and you're trying to run at the starting point of your other favorite DJ set,
I'd rather see
it matters.
I've always preferred to see the ending song.
Obviously,
because the year I went to EDC, I saw who did I see? It was I can't even remember, but like especially at like the bigger festivals. It's about the stage production at the end of the day, so then you start thinking about like which stage would have like the bigger fireworks at the end of the night,
or light show,
at the big exactly. So almost at that point, it's not even about the music; it's about like who would have the best performance. Which then you start calculating in your head, just like, oh, I really like this one song by this one DJ, but I know that this other DJ is going to have a way better light show at the bigger stage that's more open.
But then again, I get the variables in a techno electronic music fucking festival, but like, for example, Warped Tour in El Paso. Like, how many stages do you have? 2? 3, if anything?
3.
And like you're trying to catch the band that you like or not, you're gonna get the fuck out of there as soon as possible to catch the other show.
Right.
You know? And this is how that feels.
Yeah. I think Sun City Street Fest too. Like I've gone to those and you always want to see the headliners or like the ones you really want to see. And there's always little bands here and there and you listen to them, but you'd rather just plan ahead and just stay for their show instead of going to different shows.
That's true. But I feel like I'm old now, and I always try to like price in like the VIP tickets because I'm like, I don't want to be stuck in the GA with a bunch of 16-year-olds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It sucks.
I know. I hate being old. This shit sucks.
But this is the episode where Asunya gets sunburned, right?
Yeah.
It's
How
great.
Hilarious. She looks like a fucking Indian child the rest of the season.
Honestly, I thought it was a fucking like character design change for
you
a
think
little
so?
bit. Like I didn't pick up on it because I knew they forgot sunscreen.
Yeah.
And when she's like alone in her house, like having those dream episodes, that dream episode that she's just falling asleep the entire time. I thought it was like a character design change. I was like, what?
Yeah, I think Yui doesn't recognize her at one point.
Yeah.
She's like, who are you?
Who the fuck are you? He's like, you came to my house, dumbass.
And my favorite part of this episode is Yui at the end of the night gets like so overwhelmed seeing all these bands and like she's like reinvigorated. She's motivated all over again. Which was kind of the plan, right? That was Notika's plan this whole time to get them all out here. Sawaka's plan. So they're all hanging out at the hill, this grassy hill at the end of the day, and they're like, "See, this is why we need to dedicate ourselves to our craft. That should be us. Like, yeah, those guys rock, but we could totally rock that much harder. Like, imagine if that was us up there, how well we would do." And that's like the mid-season like break right there. Because we even get like a tonal shift in like the opening songs and the ending songs in the very next episode, because that's the second half of the season, episode 13.
You know what this makes me think about? The conversation we had with fruit baskets as far as the female gaze into anime.
What do you mean?
Like, you know how you were saying, like, oh, every nerd wants a girl that watches anime, but they're watching fucking Fruits Baskets.
And then?
K-On! Is an anime I would not be mad about my girl watching. You know what I'm saying?
Because then you can watch it with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really wholesome, so you can't really see any faults with it.
But have you watched Fruits Baskets?
No, it's on my watch list.
Oh man, it's
because there's 2 versions, right? The older version and then the newest.
The older version got canceled for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you should probably watch like the newer version.
The newest version. Okay.
But it's not even It's not even like that. Like, it's... Watch season 1.
Season 1 will tell you the best of Fruits Baskets.
Okay.
But, why were we relating it to Fruits? Anyways, I want to talk about this opening 3 for season 2. Because this shit is what we were talking about at the beginning. About it being, like, punk as fuck. Like, even the animation style. It's corny. Like, it's literally just Yui having everybody in the club room... like, just trying to set up, like, some kind of weird kicking dance, almost like they're, like, an Irish band or something. But when you see them perform it, like, Yui's singing into a phone with, like, a bunny phone case on it. And she's jumping around singing. But then you see the audience in the bottom third of the screen. They're fucking headbanging to this shit. Like, they're jumping. They're raging to a song performed by Happy Tea Time.
Hokago Tea Time. After school tea time.
After school tea time.
It's cute too because like you see Yui every time she goes into like the chorus and stuff, she does a spin.
Yeah. And
no one really catches on. And then near the last part of the song, the entire audience does the same spin with her. And I love that part, like, because it's great because like you can see like they're performing at their best.
They bring that they bring up like without bringing it up directly. They bring it up during the school festival performance at the very end. That they try really hard as a band to network with the audience. Right? Like, they try really hard to bring the audience into it, and they try to plan out jokes for mid-song. They try to bring out, like... They try to plan out, like, their introductions.
Like a boy band, K-pop shit.
Exactly. Well, yeah, yeah, like some K-pop stuff. It's some J-pop stuff. I think that's where they're bringing it in from. And, like... From here on out, like the second half of season 2, I feel like I breezed through it. Like I just could not put it down. Like once it got going, because this is where it really feels like this downhill spiral where you're just spinning and spinning faster. Because it's like, hey, they are graduating in 6 months. We have to start building up to that, and you really start to feel it as an audience member.
They don't really feel like the anxiety of those 6 months ending because you were in that journey that we're with them. We just see that it's just fun and wholesome. Like you understand that, yeah, they're gonna graduate, but they're gonna have fun. They're gonna go off with a bang.
But since the beginning, we know somebody's feeling it.
Someone's feeling it, and we know it's Azuna.
We know somebody's feeling it.
She's literally the first episode of the second half. It's just literally a whole episode with Azunya and Ui and that girl from the jazz band. Talking about like, oh, well, summer's almost over, which means that your seniors are almost out of here. What are you going to do? And she's just like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it.
I didn't think about it. It took me a while to realize why she wears a different color, like bow.
Oh, she wears blue instead of red?
Yeah. No, she wears red instead of blue.
Right. Yeah. So
the
juniors wear the red, and then the seniors wear the blue.
Yeah, I did not pick on that. I don't know if it was just my brain not wanting to know, but it's getting sad.
There's a little hints like that where you can color coordinate what year they're in. I think in the marathon one also, they're wearing blue tracksuits, and the juniors are wearing red tracksuits.
True.
Their gym uniforms are different, which is literally like episode 15 right here. That happens like right here, and that episode's hilarious because Yui gets lost. So they have to send out like a
search party.
A search party to go find her, and she just got distracted by her old lady neighbor who is walking down like Yui Street, and she just like helped her to her house, and that was like it. She just sat down and had some tea with the old lady as opposed to finishing this marathon.
And like I said before, like those little animation hints that you see, because you see them running through the forest, and you can see like the leaves falling, and you can see the light reflection from the forest. There's the biker I wanted to talk about. He's going up a hill, and you can see like the way he's trying to pedal up the hill. It just like makes me really admire KyoAni and how well they animate their stuff. Yeah, it's one of my favorite animation studios.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so much more disappointing what happened to them.
And it is disappointing, but I know there's legacy left behind. Like I said before, they have something on the back burner.
They're still producing stuff.
I hope they get back on the legs. You know,
it's because they only probably do one production a year now. Like now, it's just like Violet Evergarden reboots like every year. Which is, it's fine. Like, Violet Evergarden's popular, but it's like Kyoto Animation used to do so much more than that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Like, I think what this shows a lot is what we were discussing earlier about how Yui kind of needs to be like babysat by everybody else. Like, even Sawako gets lost trying to find Yui.
Because that's how we lose Yui. Because they're trying to run up a hill. They're like, oh, well, we have to focus on this hill because I think it's called Heartbreak Hill. Mm. And they're trying to run up it and they're trying to like motivate themselves. So they start singing their own songs.
Right.
And Yui's like, I can't do these at the same time. I have to focus on running. And eventually they kind of just go ahead of her. And Yui gets lost because she stopped being babysat, as you were saying.
Yeah. And like, to that babysitting point, that's literally what the next couple episodes is about. Episode 16, Upperclassmen. Episode 17, No Club Room. Episode 16 is what we've been talking about Azunya this whole time. She's trying to, like, kick all her senpais in the ass and be like, hey, guys, can we fucking practice, please, for the love of God? Like, our last performance in school together is coming up. The school festival performance. Mm-hmm. Can we please practice for the love of God? And it's just an entire episode about her, Azunya, getting progressively more frustrated with the rest of the band, trying to get them to practice. And then immediately after that, once they're finally in the groove of getting back into practicing, because Azunya just like kicked them into shape, they don't have a club room because the room's being like retrofitted or something like that. Like it's being worked on
or some shit. Yeah.
So in episode 16, we could see Azunya hang out with each of the club members. The first one was being Mugi. She's trying to scare someone. She's trying to jump scare someone because she really wants to be hanging out with her friends. And Azuna kind of realizes that Mugi's kind of really airheaded, and she doesn't really think that she's like really trying to be in this, not like in the band, but say she's ready to move on, basically. And she thinks, Azuna thinks that, but Mugi doesn't really think that because Mugi writes a song. She writes a Honey Sweet Tea Time. Right. And that's when Azuna starts realizing that as much as they're leaving, they know that they can do things that they want to. But she always has that anxiety that, hey, they're going to leave and I don't want to be alone because they're my friends. They're my best friends. And they're family to me.
And then, like, as an audience, too, like, the subplot, I mean, they're kind of setting up Ui and June to carry on almost.
Mm-hmm. And that's what happens in K-On! High School. They end up joining the light music club with Azuna.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so, like I was saying, once they get back into the groove, then they just lose the club room for a couple episodes. So we just literally spend, like, a whole episode and a half just watching them trying to practice in random places. They try to rent studio time, but they spend so much time, like, talking and having tea or whatever the fuck they're doing that they waste the entirety of their studio time. And they're trying to practice, like, in other floors and rooms inside of the school, and they get kicked out for being too loud. And
they go to the gym, and they watch the volleyball players play, and they can't focus on playing because Mio's too focused on watching the volleyball game.
Mm-hmm. But then again, this is the genius of K-On! Because as you can ask any other fucking anime fan, is like, what's your fan service? What do you get from your fan service? Here on K-On!, you're like, when is it coming? When is it coming? It's not coming, but you don't realize it's not coming.
Who's coming?
Yeah.
The plane. You know, like it's them practicing. It is such a problem, especially for Asunya, and it hurts as an audience member seeing Asunya being hurt for them not practicing enough. Or them not putting in the work. But then again, it's just like that, the je ne sais quoi of the whole fucking series.
I think the last quarter of the season's like that. Because literally from then on out, it's about like leading up to the school festival club. And like they're so caught up with doing their classes assignment, which is the performance of Romeo and Juliet. Azunya's fixated on like, yo, we literally have not practiced for this show. We have no idea what we're doing.
All fucking year, bro.
Yeah. And then, like you were saying, the fan service, like, what do you like in the fan service? Here in K-On!, the fan service is the character development. Because you can see each character get their own screen time, and you can see them how they interact with one another.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying in that same episode, the No Club Room, they're trying to write a song. They're trying to show that Azuna that they're serious about this. So they each try and write a song, and they can't really like come up with lyrics. Mio's are too fluffy and stuff. And Yui writes the song called "Rice as a Side Dish," which eventually they do perform at the school festival. Mm-hmm. And they really don't like it because they think it's really cheesy, but they go along with it.
Yeah. I remember it going over really well because we get a whole episode, which again leads me into the Mio Ritsu relationship and like how close they are as a couple. That Mio is chosen to be Romeo, and Ritsu is chosen to be Juliet in this all-girls school.
No, Mio is Romeo.
Yeah, Mio is Romeo.
I said that.
And
you said Ritsu is...
Rewind it. I said Mio's Romeo.
Oh, okay. My bad.
So, what's ironic about that is, like, their personalities are opposite of what they should be cast as, right? Like, Mio, as the most popular female student at this all-female school, is chosen to be Romeo just because out of sheer popularity. And Ritsu, as her best friend, is chosen to be Juliet just because, like, she's her counterpart, right? So... Mio can't perform like in practice as Romeo because that's just not who she is, right? Mm-hmm. She can't even act to be that kind of like dominant male character like that. So we get this really intimate scene in Ritsu's apartment with Mio and Ritsu and them trying to practice their lines. And what clicks is it's Mio acting to be Ritsu performing as Romeo that helps her be Romeo. So she's essentially acting as Ritsu, and then Ritsu, as the feminine counterpart, tries acting as Mio would act as Juliet. So instead of them portraying these characters, Romeo and Juliet, they're performing Mio as Ritsu and Ritsu as Mio.
Yes, completely understood what you said.
Yeah.
Yes,
I didn't know how else to explain it.
No, you did it perfectly. They help each other practice their own character because they are the opposite of the character they got put onto. Mm-hmm. And it's wholesome to the point that they know each other. And they
imagine acting as your best friend.
Like you have to be like really good best friends to know how they're gonna act doing something.
It's like, can I show Drew how racist he is? Yes, I can show him how racist he is.
And then you would say something, and then Drew would laugh because he understands. He would make that joke too.
Can Drew tell me how Mexican I am? Yeah, he can show me how Mexican I am. It's the same thing, you know. But it is really nice because it's just because Mio has this like a fragile personality to her that she can't like break out of her shell. But as an audience, seeing that she has a really good friend to help her out through this, it's really good. And you don't see Ritsu's fragility until this point,
right?
Because Mio is like, you shouldn't do it like that. It's like you're supposed to be like, oh Juliet, Romeo, you know.
And they're still trying to get Mio out of that shell, and Ritsu's still struggling, so she has to get the other girls to come in, and that's when they go to a maid cafe, and they kind of just make Mio be the centerpiece of the maid cafe. They make her do all the they make her do all the orders and everything so that she can get that practice.
The practice of speaking in public.
Yeah.
Because not only is she being shamed inside of a maid outfit, which is kind of embarrassing, for Mio at least, and then on top of that, has to put on this act, which is, you know, your server voice. It's your bartending voice. You know what I mean? It's just hyper-friendly voice that you don't even have, but you have to put on this fake personality to work in the service industry. And
I love that in the background, soft plot, Yui is practicing to be a tree.
Yeah, yeah. Like every episode, she's just kind of like standing there, pretending to be a tree
in the background, just like with her hands up. It's like Mio told me I should practice not doing anything
because I'm a tree, and that ends up working out because by the time they actually go to practice in school, everyone's like dumbfounded how they finally found their characters because they're actually acting on stage. And it doesn't seem so clunky like it would be. And that leads us into like episode 19 here, which is literally Romeo and Juliet. It's just about the performance. And we already described that Mio has a fan club of like dozens of girls at this all-girls school, right? So the auditorium is filled because they know that Mio is going to be the Dom like Romeo character here. So all these fangirls show up in like this really weirdly explicit way to see like their female idol play Romeo.
Yeah, it's great because Yui and Ritsu are performing. Yui, not Yui. Ritsu and Mio are performing, and since they know each other so well, they're kind of like laughing at them because they know they're pretending to be each other, pretending to be Romeo and Juliet, and they're laughing at stuff. And it reminds me to like back in my high school days when I was in theater, we would laugh at our own stuff too. Like it's really relatable how they will laugh at each other. And
you were a theater nerd, right?
I was a theater nerd. Hello.
You were a theater nerd too?
Yeah. I think I was the baker in the theater performance that Maltwood did for Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
There's the baker at the beginning where he's like, Marie, the baguette, hurry up. Yeah. I was like an extra in every scene.
I did a extra in elementary school for Bernice Bobs Her Hair.
How do you remember that? I feel like I don't remember anything from elementary school. I don't understand how people remember anything that long ago.
It was just something that I never done before, especially as a Juarez child coming to the U.S. Honestly, I was just chasing some ass.
I was
in elementary school.
Yeah,
I was a Triceratops in the dinosaur musical, and me and my friend was also the comedian. So we would always throw in like ad libs and stuff. And one time, I threw in an ad lib, and all our friends, we just started laughing. They started laughing, but we still kept on performing. So when they would laugh, they would just like cover their face, cover their mouth, and like it goes back to like the whole performance thing in K-On! Where Yui needs to sneeze at some point, and her sister's like, "Oh no, she's gonna sneeze
during the play."
Yeah, during the play, and she's like, "Oh no, she's gonna sneeze, but she's a tree. Trees don't sneeze." So I love this episode. It's one of my favorite episodes, really.
It is just because like what it meant for me is it's just like, oh, we get another school festival performance next. Like it literally it was queuing up just like, hey guys, just sit through this episode and you finally get what you've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And that's literally the next episode 20, yet another school festival.
Yeah, they spend the night after the performance because they're gonna start practicing, and we see that a lot of clubs do that too. They stay at the school, they camp the night there, and they practice whatever they're going to perform the next day. Because I think the school festival looks like it's going to like about 2 days. Yeah. So, and we see them wake up, and Mio's like in the small cocoon. When they wake up, they're trying to like tease her a little bit. They try to start writing on her, and when she finds out she has her hand all covered with, I think the kanji for people, I think. Yeah, I believe because she has that performance anxiety, so she wants to like get rid of it like that. So they're trying to help her get rid of it.
Yeah. Because somebody advised Mio before. It was just like imagine them all as people, or write on your hand that they're just people, or something like that. Yeah, and that will help you humanize them, so that you can perform the day of the Romeo and Juliet thing. And she just kept that going, so her whole arm is filled.
Yeah, like the whole picture them naked kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what I do.
It was a loss in translation. A little bit. Like, that's like, there's a couple of jokes throughout the entirety of the season that are kind of like a Japanese play on words, which we're just never going to catch up on, right? Correct. Like, it's about kanji being similar, it's about words being pronounced similarly. And you hear that a lot with Yui. Just like, oh, I thought you said this, but really you said this. And it's kind of cringe, like when both the dub and the sub try to explain it. But like it's just one of those things we're never going to catch up on.
Correct. It reminds me of the one-liner comedy guys from Odd Taxi. Mm-hmm. You know, like they're good, but
They're all Japanese jokes. Like,
Yeah.
I'm never going to catch up on any of these. Did you watch Hot Taxi?
Yeah, I love Hot Taxi.
Hot Taxi
we
has one
love
of those best
Hot Taxi.
intros, bro.
I'm so
The,
glad
the
you watched
intro,
Hot Taxi.
the intro slaps.
I
was
have
like-
that shit on my phone. Bro.
Yeah.
That
I'm
shit is
so
good.
glad you watched Hot Taxi.
I watched it and then I binged it. Like I watched it and then the last few episodes I stayed up to like 3 a.m. just watching it. And I was like, it's perfect. It's like top 10 maybe.
Best anime of the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Because it came out last year, right?
Yeah.
Literally best anime of the past 2 years. Wow, what were we talking about? so they do their performance. And it's funny because Yui gets lost in the transitions. Because so they start with Fuwa time. Okay, we know Fuwa time. And they don't even, as an audience, show us the performance anymore. They're showing the audience's reaction because Nodoka and Saoko planned out like buying T-shirts for the crowd that have the
logo,
the band's name on it, so that when the girls go out on stage, they're like shocked. They're like, "Whoa!" Like everyone's wearing the same T-shirt as us. It looks like we have so much like support. So you're watching people hearing the band perform in the background, and Saoko being like outside of the performance hall, being like, "Hey, here's a T-shirt. Here's a T-shirt. If you want to go see them, like show your support. Be really loud." But Yui's kind of fucking it up a little bit. Like this is the whole episode is just the performance, but they kind of fill it in with Yui being awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And she's filling the transitions, trying to introduce all the bandmates every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And once they start her song, the one that she wrote earlier, Rice as a Side Dish.
Yeah.
When she starts singing it, people are like, "What is this song? This song's kind of weird." But the way that Yui performs it, it's really fun. And she says a couple of the lyrics, and the crowd will start singing along to it, and they start getting into it, and it's great because you can see the dynamic that all the people that came to see them really support them.
Right.
Yeah, and
they're local celebrities.
Yeah, they're local
especially
celebrities.
at that
Yeah.
school. Yeah. Absolutely, and it gives you the warm fuzzies. Like this would have been a solid like season ending, but we still have like 3 more episodes after that. But it feels like so solid when it happens because like they stress enough without sounding preachy that it's just like, hey, this is really the band's last performance, which is probably like the only performance as a group they have together in a public setting in this entire season. Which is like crazy to think about because it's literally about these girls being in this band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Nodoka tells them that they're out of time because Yui was talking so much and doing the transitions too long. But then the last song is "You and I," the next song that Yui wrote for her sister, and
which we didn't even describe the setting to writing this. Normally, the past 2 school festivals, Yui gets sick before because she stresses herself out and she gets sick. But this time, Ui gets sick, and like Yui, as like the older sister but like the less capable sister, is like trying to take care of Ui. And we have a couple episodes where a lot of the songwriting comes from Mio. And Mio was kind of in a writing rut. Like, she couldn't stop writing about animals, and it came off even cheesier than usual. So, Yui got a sense of inspiration the night that she was trying to take care of her sister while she has a cold. And it's that You and I song. It's just literally like, I don't know where I'd be without you and I. Like, you're my backbone. I'm not explaining it directly, but that's how it came off. It's kind of a love letter to her sister. It's just like, you are my support system. You need my help right now, and I'm here for you.
And I believe like the sub, because if you watch the dub, they'll sub you the lyrics to the song they're singing.
Yeah, the performances are still in Japanese.
Correct. So I believe it's a song that said like rain, rain, we are here. That means mother is coming or something like that when she's with Yui.
I don't know.
Is that one?
No,
is that the one that is?
No, I think that one. I think you're referring to
that one's before.
Yeah, I think it's before.
Okay. I'm sorry, but it does bring out a wholesome theme to Yui coming up with something for the band, because up to this point, I mean, we know that Yui, she's not really there.
And then they finish that song, and they go back to the club room and they start reminiscing, and they start getting a little bit excited. They're like, "Oh yeah, that was a great performance. That was great. I was so happy that they brought out shirts with our logo on it." And then they start realizing, what are we gonna play next year?
Yeah.
What are we gonna do next year? What's the
Like,
set list for next year,
bro?
But there's no next year. And then Mio starts crying.
That's literally when it finally hits the rest of the group. Like, yo, like this was it. That literally was it. It's sad. Like, it's so sad. Like I talked about in episode 1 that they were bringing up that they never had like a backup plan for Azunia, and here this is where it's really like, oh fuck, like there's nobody after this except Azunia.
And then there's a soft melody version of You and I that kind of just complements their whole crying situation.
Oh,
and
starts playing it's an acoustic guitar that starts playing in the background. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that's when they start realizing that there's no next time, there's no next festival, because they're graduating.
I hate that I love this.
Yeah, me too. Because it just reminds me of my high school days. I'm like, fuck yeah, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, and having all my friends and we all graduated together. So,
and as an audience, like, even in this episode, I'm still waiting for the last show. You know, a last big performance. But the big performance at the end is not for anybody besides Asunia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it hits weird, bro, because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't looking. I was distracted by everything else of this beautifully fucking narrated anime that at the end of the day, they did not do a big show. They did not do a big performance for the public or anything like that. They did it for the friend.
Yeah. And it's really weird because it also ends on episode... That whole festival is on episode 20, and we still have 4 more episodes left.
Yeah, and which like it's so much meaner to the audience.
Yeah, it is so much meaner because you just like wanted to go and cry with them, but you can't because there's still more going on.
Literally, the next episode feels like it would like more of the mid-season episodes, like some passive like little problem that Yui has that they just kind of solve. It's graduation photos. Yeah, Yui has been self-cutting her hair this whole time. Fucks up her own bangs, and now she looks like a dork in her graduation photo.
She looks like Ash Blossom.
Yeah.
Of her big forehead.
There's a Yu-Gi-Oh card called Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, which is just like some fairy bitch with giant fucking head. And that's how Yui looks right here. So, yeah, that episode happens, and there's so much emphasis on it right there, because like me as an audience, as a viewing audience, I'm like on this high from this performance, and then like I'm still right there in the next episode, and there's really none of that. But then like you start getting the stress as like an invested audience member about like the next couple episodes, because it's literally back to like that episode 9 plot point that was like Yui does not have an after school plan, and it's the teacher like pressing them and being like, it's Sawako pressing them and being like, hey, what the fuck are you doing after high school? You graduate in like 4 weeks. Could you tell me now? Like, I need to know as your teacher. And it's right here. Like, Mio has already been accepted as like the top of their class to this badass all-girls college. And it's right then that the other 3 members are the other 3 seniors are like, what if we did that? What if we just didn't break up after high school? What if we just all stayed together? Because like Mugi is rich, she can probably already get in. So as soon as they all decide that as a group, she's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna go to this school. So it's Ritsu and Yui as the weaker links here, being like, we need to bust our asses on this entrance exam, or we're not going to be with Mugi and Mio.
And these conversations happen in front of Asunia, which makes it even sadder. But yet, like, you want them to be together, but they're having these conversations with... It's like the fucking super bad thing where they want to go to the same colleges, but they don't go to the same colleges kind of thing. But they're having all these conversations in front of Asunia, and it makes you happy that they're working to be together, but then they're having these conversations next to Fogo or next to the other fat dude
Jonah
from
Hill's character.
Jonah Hill's character.
Yeah.
And it just makes it sad but happy at the same time, and I don't know what to feel right now.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
Yeah, because Mio, like you were saying, Mio got accepted to her own first choice college, and then Mugi, it was Mugi's plan first that she was going to go to an all girls college, and then that's when Mio was like, well, what if we do that? So what if we just try and go into Mugi's school too? Because it's a girls' school, we're already familiar with that environment, so we'll all try it. As Yui and Ritsu have to start studying to actually go into that college with them.
And they do it, though. This is... I'm glad it happened like this, but it is out of character for Yui that, like, she would be able to just buckle down for 2-3 weeks and be able to pass an entrance exam. Like, we've seen every year of her high school career, we've never believed that she's retained any of this information.
But, like, your sentiment is right, because now there's more risk than the previous year.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm
makes
saying?
Sense. Yeah.
So now she's like, oh shit, I really need to do this.
And at that same time, it's that same dynamic with Azunya that we've been describing this whole time, that like they're busting their asses for this entrance exam, and Azunya's just in the club room like being like, can we study, guys? I miss our band. Can we please perform one more time? Because we're never going to be able to do it again because you guys are going to graduate. And it's just... It like, I'm telling you, Azunya is just like she gets the short end of the stick this entire season. And I think that's because what Joel was saying, we don't have the K-On! High school like anime adaptation of what happened to Azunya afterwards. So like, as far as like an anime only viewing audience, all you have is this, and it feels terrible for Azunya. But I don't know. The last episode is really, really sweet. It's the graduation ceremony. And it felt like how high school graduations feel. They're really melodramatic for no reason. It really feels... It's supposed to... I remember my high school graduation felt like more hyped up than it should have been. Because it's like the juniors are going to tie like a flower onto the seniors. And then... they're going to get walked up and get this great, grand, like, graduation speech, and then they're out into the real world. But the saddest part is that the going away gift for the senior class, for the teacher, for Sawako here, is like this written note that Yui gets very last, and she's closest with Sawako as part of the light music club. So she's expected to not only keep this letter safe away from Sawako, and Sawako's not dumb. She knows that Yui's hiding something, but that it's more heartfelt coming from Yui at the very end. And that really ties it all together, because throughout the graduation ceremony, Sawako sees that Yui's hiding something. Sawako pressures Yui in like the courtyard, being like, hey, what are you hiding? And Yui's just like, no, nothing. And at the end of the day, they write all on the board this great I love you, like, thank you for everything going away letter to Sawako. And then they hand her this handwritten, like, really big, like, greeting card. And you hear from Sawako, like, how am I gonna erase this on the board? Like, how can I stomach, like, erasing this sentiment? Like, this is the most beautiful thing, like, I've ever received. And it's, oh God, like...
And now that you're bringing it up and the way you're talking about it, I honestly, I didn't think about Sawako's point of view here. Sawako, at some point where there were the whole conflict with what is it, Ritsu? No, Ritsu. Ritsu's whole dilemma with her being in the backlight. At some point, I thought that Sawako was gonna jump in the drums for some reason, and Sawako to be in the light just because Sawako didn't want to be recognized. So at one point, I thought that Sawako was gonna jump in as like a Yu Yu Hakusho masked warrior kind of character.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about it here in the end, like Sawako's character as like her first year being a homeroom teacher, I honestly I didn't notice until now.
And it makes you feel it, right? Mm-hmm. You know, that's the thing. It's a fucking heart tug, and then I don't know.
Yeah, it just reminds you of your own graduation and how it ends that way.
Well, I mean, when I graduated high school, honestly, me coming from like being schooled in Juarez, I don't know. I don't know why, but Lloyd. Do you know Lloyd? Our friend Lloyd?
No, he doesn't.
No. So he was an upperclassman of ours. When he graduated, I mean, I didn't feel sad that he was leaving. I felt good that he was leaving because he's going on to better things, you know? But here, with like the whole different context of like Japanese education system of like having kids so involved in like their extra curricular activities, that it makes you feel it so much more.
Yeah, yeah.
And then finally, at the end of the series, we see they bring in Azuna and say, "Thank you for being with us. I know we're leaving, but we're going to leave you with this song." And they wrote a song for Azuna. I can't remember the exact name of the song, but she likes it. She starts crying about it. She's really sad that they're leaving. But at the end of the day, she's like, "You guys aren't really good, are you? I'm playing just on the fly."
She wants an encore.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. So it's in personality for Azunya to be hypercritical of them, but it really is like this very personal song. It's just like, dude, like, you're this beautiful person. I know you're gonna grow to be exactly who you need to be. Like, I'm glad that we were there for the journey, and it's, Jesus Christ, like that's literally how the main chunk of season 2 ends, is the song to Azunya, which, like, I've talked about it this whole time. Like, Azunya was the weakest point in the storytelling for me, to like leave it off on like, hey, it's all on you now, bro.
It's
like,
a legacy.
Yeah, it was the perfect ending.
Send off.
And the first 2 OVAs are literally just fill-in stories. Like, the first 2 is like, the first OVA is about excuse me, their is about their recruitment journey. So it's rehashing the story about how they tried to produce a recruitment video, but the teacher, Sawako, being like, the joke in season 1 about Sawako's like costume designs is she would always try to thought out the girls a little bit, and try to like cute them up in like really suggestive outfits. They do that in a recruitment video, and then Sawako tries to put it out, or like they review it, and they're like, dude, like, you cannot embarrass us like this in any way. And the ending of that OVA is Azunyan being like, hey, maybe we should just put it out, no matter what. If anything, just as a memory to who you guys were when you were part of the Light Music Club. And that, it like, immediately after that season finale, it's just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, can we stop trying to make me sad for like 10 seconds?
But it made you feel so happy for 25 episodes, bro.
Okay, but then episode 26 is just an episode about them loitering at the school, and maybe like the second to last day of class. They have nothing to do. And Sawako is sick at the time, so they go visit her at her apartment, and then Sawako's friends show up, and it's just like remaking you feel what you thought was closure on the Sawako storylines, is reintroducing you and being like, hey, like, we would be nowhere without you, bro. Like, you were not only an old member of the Light Music Club, but you allowed us to, you guided us into all of our other bullshit. And it's just, fuck. Like, the OVAs were so hard for me to get through. Like, because you go from closure to just rehashing what you thought was closure. To the very last episode, the last OVA is literally just a prequel to the movie. It's the girls in college go meet up with Azunya in the library. So Yui's there, Ui's there too, and they're reintroducing like the would-be seniors now. And our college girls are like, hey, we miss you, bro. Like, you're still, we still have a band together. We still have an identity together as this band. Let's plan a trip. Let's go to the United States to learn where like rock music came from. We can go to several other places, and it's just them trying to get like their passports, trying to figure out how flights work. But it gets you that much more excited for the movie.
Man, and like Joel was saying, like, there's so much in the back burner for a third season, for even a K-on high school, even K-on college. I want to see it, and I'm gonna go back to my point that this remind me of Hinamatsuri, because it's such a celebration of women.
Yeah,
it's so pure. It's so dumb fun. It's awesome. It's an awesome anime. Honestly, I can tell you about Berserk. I can talk to you about Hunter x Hunter, Yu Yu Hakusho. I can tell you so much shit that I love about those animes, but this anime brings an entire new table to the game.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess just closing thoughts. I mean, this is one of my favorite animes. It's one of my top 5. Just because when I did first see it, I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was just cute girls doing cute things, go along with it. And then later on in my life, I was going through huge depression, and I rewatched it, and it just made me reminisce about the good old days and like high school and stuff like that. And just how wholesome the show is just made me fall in love with it more than I had thought before.
Oh, absolutely.
And if, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this anime is about enjoying the little things. We didn't talk about like how they got their AC. We didn't talk about how they what was the other fuck, I just forgot. Like how they got their AC unit. We didn't talk about how they like studied, like we didn't go into the details of what this anime is trying to give you, which is the small things in life besides the main plot.
Because there's too many small things in this anime to go over, and
Correct.
But you just have to like know that all the small things matter.
Absolutely.
So I think that concludes our discussion on season 2 of K-On! I'd be excited to have you back for the movie discussion, Joel.
Sure.
But should we move into the Nerd Down?
Nerd down.
Nerd Down. Nerd Down. Welcome to the Nerd Down, where the nerds get down. At the beginning of the Nerd Down, I did want to recuperate our housekeeping notes that we went over at the beginning. Do not forget that for the month of December, please use hashtag OurNerdsMatter. That's OurNerdsMatter in an original tweet or Instagram post to be entered into our December giveaway. We will get you something, some tailor-made anime stuff to your tastes. So, to that point, I do want to go over the winner for our November giveaway that used hashtag NerdsForTheHomeless in an original tweet. That is at Karapaga Goat on Twitter. He's a longtime follower that's been following us for like 6-7 months or something like that. And he's been fairly interactive, and this is the first time he's won a monthly giveaway. So Karapaga Goat will be sneaking in your DMs when this episode comes out on Monday. And
we'll be reaching out to him.
Yeah. Or her, whatever. And we'll be figuring out what your tastes are and what you would want in a giveaway.
Yeah, also, if you have any concerns or hot takes, or you didn't like what we said about your favorite anime, just hit us up on betweennerdspodcast@gmail.com.
All of our social media handles are also at Between Nerds.
And you can hit us up. Just comment or something. DM us on Twitter or just add us on Twitter. We'll read that shit. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And to that, we come into the Nerd Down. But before we get into the Nerd Down, K-On! K-On! is something that a good anime fan should watch.
Right. I agree too. Like a lot of what, especially like people that watch only popular things, the most popular anime genre is by definition a shonen, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's mostly just like teenage boy driven anime fighting. And that's exactly the opposite of what K-On! Is. Mm-hmm. K-On! Has a lot of benefit for anime fans as a whole that want to have perspective on like a whole different genre.
Mm-hmm. And thank you to Joel Martinez for joining us on this discussion over season 2 of K-On! He unfortunately had to leave, so he's not going to join us for this nerd down. But this nerd down, I've been wanting a nerd down, between you and I.
We haven't had one in like 3 weeks. The issue is, when it came to like the past few guests we had, when it was Rachel or Jacob, whatever, like a lot of their availability was only on Mondays. And the thing about Mondays is, like, obviously I work the next day. Aldo's a full-time dad and, like, has to wake up early for Zaid. And, like, having a late-night drunken discussion on anything is really hard during the week.
And we're pushing fucking 3-hour episodes.
Yeah, we've been pushing 3-hour episodes consistently for, like, 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to add on to that is really, really hard during the week. But today, we are recording on a Saturday. We started at 2. It is already 5 o'clock on Saturday, December 4th. And we're still going at this.
We got the time.
We got the time now. But something I've been wanting to talk about for 2 weeks already is the Cowboy Bebop live action, which I alluded to a little bit in relation to K-On! In our main discussion. But here, I'm not going to go into spoilers. Aldo hasn't watched it.
Go ahead.
I won't go into spoilers. There's no need. There's literally no need. But what I was talking about a little bit earlier about Cowboy Bebop, the anime, is the anime is hyper stylized. It's all vibes. It's all vibes, no substance, right? Which is fine. We've known that about Cowboy Bebop for 20 years already. Like, that's not a surprise. The thing about Cowboy Bebop, the live action, is that when Rachel was here last week, or same week, honestly, 5 days ago, and we were discussing Fruits Basket, is I was trying to relate the live action to the British term campy. So here's the definition of campy I'm working off of Urban Dictionary. Campy can be something that is both over the top and farcical, intentionally exaggerated so as not to be taken seriously. That is how the Cowboy Bebop live action feels, which is different from the anime because the anime wanted everything to feel very concrete and sad. At the time when we were talking with Rachel, I described it as Cowboy Bebop. The narrative is it's a depressive storyline. It's an epic of sorts, but there's no fulfilling ending at the end. It's supposed to be sad and nobody gets their own way. Mm-hmm. The thing about Cowboy Bebop, the live action being very campy, is that every scene is dorky. Like, unbelievably, like, cringy, dorky, and it's trying to come off as lovable. Like, something like Doctor Who or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it totally loses itself. If there was not already a source material as classic as the Cowboy Bebop anime, I feel like the live action could be taken more seriously. But when I have a direct comparison, like it literally misses on the anime's strong points.
Okay.
Because if the anime is hyper stylized, is all about the music, is all about the vibes,
fighting scenes,
the live action by definition can't reach that because it's literally not an anime. Mm-hmm. Everything having to be performed in live action, including the fighting scenes, which you see in episode 1 of the live action adaptation. The kung fu it's not the same. It's literally not the same, and all the characters are aged up. And its strengths are what the anime does not have. Mm. But its weak points are what the anime does have. So it feels like an entirely different work.
Okay. Honestly, I haven't seen it. I just played episode 1 right here on the background with no noise. Does this live action Cowboy Bebop fall into like a certain timeline within Cowboy Bebop?
It tries to fill in the plot points of what the anime doesn't have. Mm-hmm. Like the episode 1 is a 1-for-1 adaptation of episode 1 of the anime, which is about it's about the red eye drug, and like in Tijuana.
But this is not Tijuana as we are seeing.
No, it will be.
Okay,
Exactly after this initial scene in the live action, which is an adaptation of a different scene. It's like episode 4 or 5 of the anime, where Spike walks into a place that's being a convenience store. No, it's an adaptation of a movie scene where Spike walks into a convenience store that is being robbed with headphones on and pretends not to know what's going on, but ends up like jumping everybody and beating the shit out of the robbers.
Okay.
But here in the live action, it's a casino. So him walking into the casino floor with headphones on automatically doesn't make sense because he already would know where he is. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of like conveniences that don't make sense except for like a narrative purpose. So they bust a hole in the side of a space casino and there's a switch that closes a wall directly over those slot machines, which would never happen. That would never make sense. Like if there was a lockdown mechanism, it'd be for the whole facility, right? Mm-hmm. But it being a live action and them cutting down on production costs, it just doesn't make sense. But our gripe in our episode about Cowboy Bebop is that the storylines, when you try to break them down, don't make sense, right? So even in the anime, you learn about the Syndicate, and that Spike was part of the Syndicate, and that's where Vicious came from. And Vicious is Spike's mortal enemy and is trying to kill him. Mm-hmm. And somehow there was a girl involved. And Jet has a background as a cop. But he left the police force because they were corrupt. Faye's storyline is about literally a teenage girl, like even here she's supposed to be like 17, 18 years old. And that has to like exploit men through her sexuality because all men are a bunch of creeps. And it's like Cowboy Bebop, the anime, was about how like the rich class is abusing the poor class because we were strictly shown perspective from poor people just trying to get by. Through all means necessary.
And it's those poor people trying to rise above it.
Right. You don't get any of that in the live action. Any of that. And a lot of the discourse online is upset about the racial mix-up of the characters. Like, so everyone's aged up, but Spike's character's Asian, Faye's character's some kind of mixed Asian character, and Spike is now played by a black guy. But, like, if you watch the anime, it was always mixed race situations. It was like if humanity colonized the known universe or the galaxy,
hit a melting point of like this equal race.
Right. Of it being like ethnically fluid, right? So then you get all these white fucking nerds on the internet mad about mixed race representation. It's just like
that's what Eternals was about,
right? And you see that online a lot about like discourse. I've seen Reddit forums about people being like, why are all anime characters white? I'm just like, no. The anime characters are drawn and interpreted in a way that any person could interject themselves into that character. Right. If just because you're white and you try to put your white identity on everything, that's not...
Doesn't mean that character is white.
Right. Like, it's a literally Japanese character. He was probably Asian the whole fucking time.
And
like
you, with your white eyes...
Yeah, you could not see him as you saw yourself inside of that character, and that upset you.
I mean, watching Dragon Ball, I didn't see Goku talking any other language besides Spanish.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. But, like, Dragon Ball is an interpretation of the Chinese epic Journey to the West. So, Correct. If anything, they should all be Chinese. Like,
Correct.
Not even Japanese. They should be Chinese.
Yeah. But then again, like, me as a, like... my first language is Spanish. Like when I started watching SpongeBob in English and when I started watching some other things that I initially watched in Spanish, I'm like, wow, like there's really a difference between dialogue. But then some people take it so far ahead. They're like, oh no, he's supposed to be this, he's supposed to be that. And which brings me to like the announced live action One Piece. Where Oda has directly like put together their ethnicity.
He has production credits.
You know? But not just that, like the
Oh,
the background of the characters.
Right. So there's Oda, the author of One Piece, has an entire like section of Weekly Shonen Jump where he'll answer viewer questions, and in one of those he went through the what would be the real world ethnicity of all the characters.
Correct.
And that's why, like, even the narrative, you're pulling people from different oceans, from different part of the globe. It was always supposed to be in a fantastical world. So it was always supposed to be mixed race. So then you get people upset that the guy playing live action Luffy, who Oda always said would probably be South American, he's a super Hispanic guy, you know what I mean? But his character seems so over the top, like the actor, not how he's portraying Luffy. We don't know how he's portraying him yet. But it seems over the top enough that I'm like, that's Luffy. Like, that would be live action Luffy. But then you get nerds on the internet being like, well, I saw every character as white, so now I'm upset about it.
And then when I think about it, like in the case with One Piece, even just like the anime, I guess the one of the reasons to dismiss this cultural melting point within the anime is that everybody speaks fluent Japanese with the correct accent and dialogue and stuff like that.
We talked about that with Code Geass.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Where it's like literally you're talking the British Empire took over the entire world, but everyone still speaks Japanese.
Exactly. So if imagine if like the entirety of like One Piece anime would give you accent context, it will be crazy weird.
Yeah, that'd be super hard.
Right? To get the right people that speak Japanese, but not only speak Japanese, but to give you an accent or a
That's always been one of my gripes about subbed anime. Me watching subbed anime that has American characters, they'll speak English in broken English. I'm like, okay, you just literally broke the story encompassing for me because you just had a character that doesn't even speak English correctly, even though you told me that they're American. Correct. Which doesn't make sense. But like relating that back to Cowboy Bebop, it's a tragedy at the end of the day. It's sad. You know what I mean? But you in our main discussion for K-On!, you were talking about, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's how the Cowboy Bebop live action feels now. It feels dorkily complacent. It's so like... even the sound design things, like the sound now takes a back foot for all the shitty, like, DC-esque one-liners. Like, you just took my favorite part and just dumbed it down. And I already talked about this point when Rachel was here last week, but, like, the tragedy of somebody like Faye Valentine's character is her being a teenager and being exploited by grown, powerful men.
In a sexual way.
Right, and you've now turned her into like an almost 40-year-old character where it's literally not what she's about anymore. And it's because every episode of the Cowboy Bebop anime is supposed to be self-enclosed. It's its own storyline, it's random things and random jobs that they're trying to solve. But the live action actually explains the background stories. It explains who the Syndicate. It explains Spike's time as part of the Syndicate to the point that it oversaturates what I gave a shit about.
And maybe at the time we didn't notice these things, but I mean, look what the MCU did for Marvel Comics.
Right.
Marvel Comics are oversaturated with content of each and every single one of their characters. When the MCU came out, and thankfully the fucking Kevin Feige is up there, you know?
Yeah.
Because he does care about these characters and he does care about what he's trying to convey to the audience. At first, maybe we didn't notice it, but now people are like, oh, where is this accurate costume to this character? Where's this accurate character design? Where's this other C class member that we know from the comics. It's like, no, we don't care about that. He's trying to convey a point as that. And I feel that when Netflix coming up with this live action features of like super popular pop culture, they just want to cash grab a little bit.
They streamline it, right? It's not very. They don't try to tackle the story in this multi-dimensional perspective. They streamline the story so much, and they try to talk up plot lines that were nothing, to the point that it's like they completely miss on what was good about it. It's clear that like at least production wise and people at the very top didn't care for the source material as a whole. And they tried to change it for what they thought would be more digestible for a general audience.
And I get the whole point of getting new fans into it, like trying to catch a new network of fans into it.
The Cowboy Bebop live action, already trending at number 1 on Netflix, is already more popular than the anime ever was. So I guess to that point, they've already accomplished that.
Correct. But guess what? The people that didn't watch the anime and were first comers into the live action, they're gonna go back to the anime and be like, huh, the live action wasn't that
I think
crazy.
I think the overlap there for people that haven't already watched the anime is very minuscule.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like if I can't imagine a whole lot of people that their first introduction to Cowboy Bebop is the live action. If somebody is mildly interested in anime, at least in the Western Hemisphere, they would have already watched the Cowboy Bebop anime.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, bro, you'll be surprised because you know I like movies, I like films. I don't like wasting time on new stuff that I don't see either good directing or popular names directing or studio wise or actors. But like Jacob watches a lot of shit like in different like streaming platforms.
Jacob Mendeville.
Yes.
Our fire person associate from the Fire Force episode.
Yes, sir. Like, he'll be like, yo, bro, did you watch this on this? It's like, it's good. And I'll watch it and I'm like, oh, shit. It's like, it's good. Mm-hmm. And it'll be like a Netflix original, an Amazon original, or a Hulu original.
Right.
But again, like, me thinking about those newcomers into, like, the streaming services, I just hope they go back to see the anime.
It honestly, like the Cowboy Bebop live action, for so much in my head lately, just because I watched the live action this past week, reminds me a lot of Hawkeye so far, because Hawkeye so far is like
I watched the 2 episodes.
Three now.
Oh, 3 now. Yeah,
there's 3 now. Okay. In the manga, I think Kate Bishop was supposed to be younger, right? Like in
the manga?
In the manga. In the comics, excuse me. She's supposed to be like 17, 18. She's supposed to be high school age. They aged her up to college age for the show. So that kind of hurts the advertising, because Kate Bishop was always supposed to be like this teen girl idol, but now she's a young adult. And now what else is, it's like so far the first 3 episodes are just about humanizing the Avenger that is Hawkeye, right? Like, even though he was always like a meme of an Avenger, he was always in the background just shooting arrows while you literally have Hulk, who can destroy a whole planet. You have Thor, who's a literal god. You have Captain America, the super soldier.
But then again, he was right next to Black Widow, another regular human that got her own movie.
Right. So, but the Hawkeye show tries to like humanize him even more than that.
Correct. Put him at ground level.
Right. Which I like so far. And I like that, like, I know we watch New Rockstars, which is always like a YouTube channel dedicated to trying to break down popular culture, especially related to comic book, like storyline things, right? And we always assumed it was going to be a dumber, more kiddish thing because Kate Bishop is originally supposed to be a teenager. But them aging it up and them trying to give Hawkeye like adult struggles makes more sense.
And honestly, this is my take, Drew. That you're the first to hear it. What Netflix is doing to this shows that maybe Netflix executives like Cowboy Bebop, and then we're like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do a fucking show, blah 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 blah, whatever. Dog, like, just a simple act of putting the title on a board, Cowboy Bebop, as a company of like Netflix is. Look what Disney Plus is doing. They took the Star Wars title, and now they're just branching out little by little,
which is smart because
it is. And what I'm saying is that if they would have, if Netflix executives really cared about the content in Cowboy Bebop, maybe call your first show Spike, or maybe call your first show Faye. Or like build up on what we want, the raunchy shit that we wanted to see from each character, or the background story of each character.
I think you do need to watch the live action because I think it does do that a little bit. Like that's maybe its only strength is that like it actually goes into the backstory, but then it forgets the struggle from the source material.
But like as a business point of view, like you want to milk your character first instead of putting Faye, what's the other guy? Jet and Spike in the same fucking season. If it were up to me, I would be like, let's make a Faye, and to throw the audience off, just start off with a Faye season and see how she got into the crew.
But at the same point, that's like the annoying part about even the recent JoJo's release. So somehow Netflix has bought the rights to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I don't know how or when the fuck that happened. So Stone Ocean is being released exclusively on Netflix, right? Which is the 6th part to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the manga. And they've only released 12 episodes because that's Netflix's like release plan. Like I don't know if you watched what's it called where they have lions and they turn into a giant robot? Voltron. That's what they did with Voltron, and it was hard keeping track of what was a season and what was not a season because they would only release 12 episodes at a time, which you could finish in like a weekend, and then 3 months later they released the other 12 episodes, and you're like, was this the past season, the current season? You get a little lost, right? And that's how the current JoJo's feels, because it's like they've already adapted a third of the volumes of the manga volume source material in these 12 episodes. But then you think back on Golden Winds, and it was like 40 something episodes. So it's like, at what point?
Golden Wind? 47 episodes?
It was like 40 something episodes.
Oh wow,
40 something, crazy. Not 47.
No. It's because I know the longest one was Crusaders, right?
Stardust Crusaders was just 2 seasons. It was 2 24-episode seasons, I think.
That's 48 already.
Golden Wind is 39 episodes.
Okay, 1 season.
Right. So, at the pace they're already going for Stone Ocean, it has to be at least 36 episodes. But you would assume in the later episodes they slow down the adaptation pace. So you're thinking like 48 episodes or something like that. And I'm glad they rushed through like my least favorite chapters of the Stone Ocean manga. But
absolutely,
as like a release schedule, that's ass. That is absolute dog shit. So you're telling me I'm gonna watch 12 episodes in 12 hours, and then I have to wait 3 months to watch another 12 episodes, and then another 3 months to watch another 12 episodes. It's just, I think Netflix being tied to their platform release schedule hurts like how a production as big as JoJo's should be taken. Just do it weekly. They're doing that weekly with Comey Can't Communicate. I don't know why they can't just do that with JoJo's.
Ah, man, it's a hard question, but I guess it has to go all down to money, dog. Honestly.
Sign up for Netflix and you'll know how part 2 of Stone Ocean ends in February.
Because if you get X amount of subscriptions when it release, now you have to wait 3 months. Now they have the people that are invested. Maybe they cancel after they watch it, but then people are like, oh, it's there. It's a bill that comes every month. Oh, shit, 3 months later, oh, we get the next one. And then they get revisited subscriptions. I don't know, dog. It seems smart as far as money-wise, but I don't like it as far as a fan.
No, I get it. And I really like this adaptation of JoJo's because it's like, I like that they brought back the CGI intros. I think this is my favorite intro since part 4.
Diamond?
Yeah, the crazy, noisy, bizarre town in part 1 of Diamond is Unbreakable was like my favorite until this one came out.
Man, just seeing, and even in JoJo's, like, part 1, like, you see those CGI, and it wasn't even expensive CGI, bro. It was just regular CGI, one on top of the other.
Because the most recent adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure before the anime in, like, 2015 was a video game series where they would just, like, fight each other on the street. So yeah, right. So, but that's what was cool about them stealing that CGI animation, because it looked like fucking PS3 graphic CGI. And then they bring it back for this season, and it's just like, oh, it's so tight. And for context, this is the only part of the manga I've read, right? And like, Stone Ocean notoriously has rewrites built into it, because the thing about Adadaki that we've talked about previously is that him in like a weekly writing format just never worked. Like, the first 6 parts just do not make sense, because he would change his mind every week on how he wanted to write it. So it wasn't until part 7, which is after this, when the universe splits, that he had a monthly publication format where he could actually make sense of his overall storyline as it changed from week to week. So Stone Ocean is going to have rewrites that are anime exclusive written into it. But these first 12 episodes being such an exact adaptation of the first 5.5 volumes of the manga feels safe to me as like a manga reader.
It leaves a lot of stuff behind, which I don't mind.
Like, I feel like it doesn't, though.
It does, but then if they're gonna split it like that, in like, oh, next 3 months you're gonna get second part, next 3 months you're gonna get the other part, I feel like they went in a really good pace.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, they're totally going to have to slow it down at some point. They're totally going to try to make it either... I could see 47 episodes, 48 episodes, something like that. Do
you know what studio we're at? We're in the same studio, right? They just got the rights?
It's the same studio.
Or they got licensed?
No. It's the same studio. Like, every part has been done by the same studio.
Yeah, but Netflix, they got licensed or they got rights?
No. It says a Netflix original anime, but it is the original studio. It's called, it has an American name. It's called like John Production or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
David Production.
Yes.
Production. It's still David Production.
The way I saw the first 5 episodes that I watched, because I haven't finished it yet, it feels like David Productions had a lot to say in the matter.
Right. And one of everyone's favorite part of JoJo's, whether it be you're a fan of the manga or the anime, is the character modeling, right? Like, everyone loves Adadaki's characters, his character designing. And we've talked about this before. He's literally the only mangaka to be featured in the Louvre in Paris, the most famous art museum in the world. like he has this hyper stylized way of drawing characters.
From Vogue, Gucci to
Like,
rock stars.
he's the GOAT when it comes to
fashion.
No, that's what I'm saying. Exactly when it comes to mangaka designing, like nobody has ever outdone Araraki, and he's still publishing. Like he just finished part 8 like 3 months ago, and he's already talking about starting part 9, which is like mind blowing to think about.
What other productions does David Production have?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Let's look it up right now because I mean we've talked a lot about different studios
It's Fire Force.
Okay. But like
Cells at Work. Cells at Work is a fairly popular both light novel and anime adaptation about.
Cool. We should write that down.
It's the personification of cells literally at work. So there's a white blood cell character. There's a red blood cell character. And it's about. It's like Osmosis Jones, but anime.
Oh shit, that's weird.
Yeah. That's literally Cells at Work.
And man, like all these animes, all this. What, you call it a shonen now? Like JoJo's?
JoJo's was probably always a shonen, but
it has evolved since then.
Yes, it is not a straight line, strict definition of a shonen. Like it has become something bigger than that. It's because JoJo's.
It's not the journey. It's not.
It's like a meme that has like created something else about itself. Like
it's personalized itself.
Yeah.
And as far as like studio wise, I hope they keep going at it because we hear about all these studios like either a follow with fucking Arsony, which fucking sucks, or bankruptcy, or even just executive decisions that plummeted the fucking series, like Promised Neverland and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I hope they keep doing their best. I hope they don't give in to Netflix a lot, you know, because it is such a great story. And following JoJo from the first fucking season, your fan service is just seeing a JoJo on screen.
Which is more ironic in part 6 because like it's all female characters, you know what I mean? So like by definition you would expect like the characters on screen being the fan service. One of the very first spoken dialogue scenes in Stone Ocean is about like Jolene's masturbation scene in front of a guard. But it almost like desexualizes it to the point that it's just like, no dude, like this is a JoJo. Like, she needs respect like Giorno did or something like that. Like young Joseph did. Like Jotaro did. Like, this is Jotaro's daughter. Like, you can't devalue her through her sexuality.
Correct.
And it's Araraki is it's always been like progressive writing.
And then I feel like a lot of nerds give they talk shit because why do you keep putting fucking Kojo? What's his name? From Crusaders?
Jotaro.
It's like, why do you keep bringing Jotaro? Why do you keep bringing Jotaro? I'm like, bro, it's like Jotaro, if anything, is the old Joestar. What's his name? The one from...
It was Jonathan then Joseph.
So Joseph Joestar is the old guy, right?
Yes, that's Joseph.
In the second one.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's him, but now they're elongating that talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I wouldn't be mad if I see old Jotaro in like later.
Well, you kind of do in Stone Ocean because Jolene is literally Jotaro's daughter.
Yes, but you see a middle age.
You see
Jotaro.
You see a fuck ass dad that left his wife and daughter,
which was Joseph.
Which was also Joseph. That's a very good point. And the difference is, I think that Dio's still a part of the storyline. Because part 6 being a cap on the Joestar storyline, Dio, by like definition, has to be a part of it. Because Dio was always part of who the Joestar's definition of themselves were for generations. Yeah. So Jolene, not really knowing who her dad was, not knowing the background with Dio, fucks up everything even more, because it's like Jotaro tried to keep his American family away from all that bullshit, and still his daughter ended up in prison in a setup to get at Jotaro and his accomplished self, because when he was 17 years old, he defeated the god Dio in hand-to-hand combat. Well, stand-to-stand combat, whatever.
Fuck that.
Yeah, and like...
He pretended to be dead. And stab.
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Like, nerds, please, hit us up on our social media or our email account so that we can finally rehash, like, our JoJo's discussion, because I think we stopped at the seasonal premiere for season 1, which ends at part 2. So we have yet to really even get into our main discussion about part 3, which is the most popular part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is Stardust Crusaders.
Mm-hmm. And you say you don't like that one because it might be a little bit too long?
It's because it knew how popular it was, so it made itself extra long on purpose when I don't feel like it really needed to be.
I feel almost the same way with the Keon season 2.
Yeah.
But
I said that too.
But I love every single minute of Keon.
Yeah, I guess on paper it's really easy to like pick things apart, but like when you're in the middle of it and you're watching it, you're just like, wow, I want more, I want more, I want more.
Yeah.
And that's like that's what we were saying when Joel was here, like it's disappointing that we haven't gotten these subsequent adaptations of K-On! Because K-On! Was so popular, like at the time, like when season 1 came out in 2008, season 2 came out in 2010. It was literally the most popular anime that year. 24 episodes is 2 seasons, so that's like what, a spring and a summer season. It's half a year of anime production, and everyone just ate it up to the point that they felt that they had the financial backing to produce a movie immediately after, and it just blows my mind that we haven't gotten any subsequent adaptations.
You know what's funny? I was helping Emerson, a friend of ours that might be on the next episode of Between Earths, which will be in the first season of My Hero Academia. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a girl because I was helping him with remodeling at his house. I was like, oh, we're watching K-On! She's like, oh my god, I love K-On! It's so sweet, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, it's so pure. And then she was like, I'm just so tired of the high school premise.
Yeah.
And you know this about me. And like, I get tired of like little kids doing big things because sometimes it doesn't make sense. Just like, do-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
You know? And I brought up Hinamatsuri.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, she wants to see a slice of life
that's aged up a little bit.
That is aged up a little bit. And maybe Hinamatsuri is not a good example of a slice of life, but it does bring in a lot of regular, mundane lifestyle plots into it. So I told her, like, watch this. I'm pretty sure you would love it. Because it's just, more grown up. But back to JoJo. First season of JoJo, it was very well animated.
Right. Well, that's the thing about David Production, is this is literally the only thing they're producing. So everything they're producing for this is like top of the line animation, and you already have people bitching about Stone Ocean because near the end of Stone Ocean, there's 2 characters whose movements could probably only be produced in 2021 standards in CGI, and those 2 characters being in CGI like have just like ruffled up the internet's panties, and you see all these nerds bitching about it on the internet. It's just like, dude, like, it's not a film. It's not like a Toei animation film. Like, no one else could produce this without CGI. Like, there's no way to do like some guy crawling on the walls and ceiling in zero gravity without CGI. Right. It's just not going to happen. And it upsets me that people that claim they like a medium or product so much are literally harassing and berating the production companies, complaining about like these absolutely minuscule things.
Yeah, I get it.
And to that point, what that reminds me of is when Nintendo announced the most recent release of N64 products, right? When the extended Nintendo Online with
Sega and
Super Mario
64.
Kart 64 and Sega Genesis games and stuff like that. Like, you already had people bitching, like, paying for another subscription service, which is like, Nintendo Online was already $30 a year. Now you're paying $50 a year. And then you have to get this extra controller. But, like, it all seemed worth it for me, so I kind of signed up for all that and got the N64 Switch controller. And I've just been playing the shit out of Ocarina of Time. And I've been having such a fun time because I've been, like, if I'm stuck, I'm not afraid to, like, read the guide or something like that. But I talked about this with you last week off the mic, Aldo. Like, I can't believe that we were finishing, like, Legend of Zelda or Donkey Kong 64 games without, like, the internet, like, back in the 90s. It doesn't even compute to me right now.
I mean, I've told you, when I was growing up, there was, like, a language barrier, like, trying to read, like all these things, you know, that Ocarina of Time, and even I never got to finish Majora's Mask. Because Majora's Mask.
Majora's.
Majora's?
Jora.
Majora?
Jora.
Yora?
Pronounce the J in English.
Majora?
Yes.
Majora's Mask. I wasn't able to finish it because I didn't know what to do.
Right.
You know? Going back to, like, Ocarina of Time, I remember beating Ocarina of Time many times.
Right,
right. And now revisiting it, I'm like, holy shit, what do I do? How the fuck do I get Epona? Why is it night? Where's the water temple? Where are my boots?
Exactly, because, like it was really like you would talk to your cousins or your friends or stuff like that. And, like, for me, because I was an army brat at the time, I was always moving between, like, Europe or El Paso or, like, wherever. So, like, it was, as an army brat, you understood that you never had the same close group of friends, right? Mm-hmm. So it was always, like, I never owned Ocarina of Time, but I always knew multiple people that owned it, and I never got to see them beat it from start to finish, or I never got to beat it myself from start to finish. And, like, there's certain plot points that, like, I'm like, I literally don't know where to go next. Like, Navi's not helping me. I literally don't know where to go. And I'll Google it. And I'm just like, how did a 5-year-old in 1998 figure this shit out? There's no way. It's because we just had so much time to dedicate to these things. It was just trial and error. You were just running around Hyrule Field for months, like, trying to figure out what to do.
Well, later I learned there's a very good documentary in Netflix called High Score.
Okay.
Which talks about main points of, like, how video games evolve. Mm-hmm. You know, from their worst to controversial to their best works. Mm-hmm. There was a hotline back in the day that if you weren't really into the magazines, the Nintendo magazines or something like that, there was no way you would know that you could call a number, get somebody on the phone, get someone from their video game players, and be like, hey man, I'm stuck in dungeon number 4, fire dungeon, fire temple. Mm-hmm. I don't know where to find this key. They would help you through it. They will talk you through it.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? And to me, like, at one point, I remember, like, after my second, third time beating Ocarina of Time, it wasn't about story. It was about knowing what to do, and I was just like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, right. You need to find this monster, blah, blah. And then now that I'm revisiting the game, mm-hmm. and I'm reading what's going on, it seems so crazy.
No, absolutely. Because I'm glad you brought that up, because, like, so I never owned Ocarina of Time by myself. But the first Legend of Zelda game I ever beat on my own was Oracle of Ages for the Game Boy Color, which was like a dual release with Oracle of Seasons. So, and like you're talking about, I live in Germany at the time. I didn't even have access to this phone number, but I remember I was getting Nintendo Power magazine somehow to our house in Germany. I remember begging my mom for like a gift, for something, for like Christmas, birthday, whatever. I was like, you literally bought me both of these games, and I can't beat either of these games unless you pay $30 and buy me the guidebook. So, and I remember it took literally like 4 or 5 months for it to show up, which like when you're 9 years old is like an eternity. So it finally shows up, and it seems so obvious once I read it. I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, I've literally not been able to play either of these games for months.
Because you had to make a left.
Yeah, because you took like a left and tried to interact with this one stone that had no context to it. And then, but like, shout out to like all of us millennials that were able to beat all these games without like any of this other context when we were kids, because it was literally just word of mouth. It was like you go over to your cousin's house and you're like, hey, I've been stuck here for months. They pull up their shit and they're like, here, you do go here, 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 and here, and you're just like, duh. And
not just that, like mental development, bro.
Yeah.
Like I love that the topic of like ADD, ADHD and shit have like, they have more talk now, especially like autism and stuff like that. Video games, I mean, you know, boomers were like, that's gonna rot your brain, that's gonna blah blah blah, but it does give you like thinking on your feet, problem solving, you know, critical thinking and shit like that, where you don't notice that you're doing this shit.
Boomers were all huffing lead paint at the time. They're gonna judge us for playing video games,
reading newspapers and shit.
Yeah. It's just, oh God, it doesn't even make sense.
I do mention Wind Waker, because Wind Waker, it's not the first video game that I beat like completely by myself, but I feel like this is the one that you can relate to. But Wind Waker was an adventure to me, dude.
Right.
That map plotting a X and Y axis of like 1 through 9 and A to like J or something like that. Trying to find each island, trying to find...
I think that's something that the Legend of Zelda series has always done well. They try to do a lot with a little. Because, like, intrinsically, like, they're tied to the Nintendo systems, which are always subpar, like...
to our main consoles.
Right. Like, compared to any other main console, they're always subpar, right?
PC, Xbox, PlayStation.
Except for the N64. The N64 was the only one that was before its time.
Correct.
GameCube was lesser than PlayStation or Xbox.
Correct.
Wii was very, very much lesser than PS2 or Xbox 360.
Might get a rock if you can get a Wii.
Right, exactly. Nobody bought the Wii U. The Nintendo Switch, by definition, as being both a home and handheld console, is lesser than like the PS5 or the Xbox right now. So, like, they've mastered like working around the limitations of Nintendo. And I agree. Like, I don't think there's any more of like an example of that than Wind Waker, because like I was playing Jak 2 on the PS2 when Wind Waker came out, and Jak 2 was a very fleshed out city and land with NPCs. Before this year, none of the Grand Theft Auto titles were on any of the Nintendo consoles because they just couldn't handle it, right? But when it came to Wind Waker's like, okay, cool. We can work around the limitations of the GameCube because everything's flat and it's just ocean.
Was beautiful, bro.
Right, so they stylize it on top of it, and then they're like, okay, look. Everything's hyper stylized. It's not graphically better. Technically, air quotes, technically, it's not technically better. There's less pixels on screen. But it's so hyper stylized. There's that art style is still recognized to this day as like Wind Waker art style. You know what I mean? And they worked around not having the scope or the hardware to do like a full map by making it a flat ocean, making everything flat, and just interjecting random islands here and there. Mm-hmm. And you having to discover islands puts less emphasis on the draw distance, because unless you know where the island is, it's never going to actually materialize and stuff like that.
Correct.
It's for the time. And that's my biggest gripe about my least favorite Zelda main console game.
Twilight?
The one in the sky, Skyward Sword. Which was like, the Wii was so ass backwards with its tech. They had to redo multiple maps or boss fights like 5-6 times. Like, you end up fighting the same 3 bosses like 5 times each. And that was the issue with the Wii's hardware. And then you compare that with the most recent one, and like, you have this all-encompassed map that is able to work perfectly on the Nintendo Switch, which we recognize is lesser than its compatriots. Uh-huh. And it's just crazy that, like, imagine if the director for the Zelda franchise was tied more closely to Sony and it was never Nintendo. Like, how much bigger could, like, the Zelda franchise be? Or would it not even be the Zelda franchise if it was tied to Sony?
Well, have you played Age of Calamity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Do you like it?
No.
No? And honestly, when Breath of the Wild came out, as a Zelda fan, I mean, I'm super excited.
Right.
Open world, risk, you know, like your weapons degrade.
Yeah, I hated that. That was my least favorite aspect.
You have to cook stuff, you have to get items, you know, RPG stuff.
Yeah.
At first I was super excited. It took me forever to finish Breath of the Wild. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because it was my Zelda fan instinct to finish everything up before going against Ganon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I picked it up when it came out. I dropped it for, you know, whatever reason. I picked it up 2 years later. Mm-hmm. I finished. I got the DLCs. I finished all the shrines. You know, I try to get the main fucking outfits. You know, to beat the game, and then in my Zelda fan brain, I'm like, ooh, like, I'm gonna be so ready for Ganon. But then I get to Ganon, and it was such a flop.
Yeah.
It was such a letdown of me thinking that I'm doing something for my payout.
Yeah.
At the end, that I could have beat this shit once I got all the what is it, the beast?
After you beat the 4 beasts, you could literally just fight Ganon right there.
Yeah, and I understand the nerds being mad at it. Because I had heard this argument before that it's not a Zelda game. Right. And now I understand it.
Well, this is why I've been so disappointed, and I keep poking fun of you that you haven't finished Okami. Because Okami...
I don't have time. Honestly, if you would have given me that shit like 3 years ago, I would have finished it.
But listen, like, Okami is like a 2011 knockoff of the Zelda series. Uh-huh. Like, notoriously, at the time... It was a lesser-known studio producing a work taken from Japanese folklore that reminded people exactly of Legend of Zelda gameplay. Mm-hmm. Like, it's dungeons, it's open world to an extent that it solves, like, the next piece of story plotting.
You have to look for shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how Okami was. Mm-hmm. So, like, I know you'll get to it eventually. We'll wait another 2 years to finish it completely. But, like, that was the benefit of Okami, is that, like, Zelda as a franchise is so emulatable, but hard to emulate. It's hard to copy that, like, there's all there's like famously works on subworks of people trying to emulate that formula, and Okami's one of them.
It's just so crazy. Like you were saying, the Nintendo Switch, they have been saying that they can't like process like super game data, but then again they remaster like the GTAs, and they have Breath of the Wild, and now with this new Pokemon game, right?
Well, probably the most famous example to me is something we've talked about on mic with CJ when he's been on here, is Monster Hunter Rise for the Nintendo Switch. That is something that the producer literally said could not work on any console currently that was not the Nintendo Switch. For whatever reason, I'm not that technical, but for whatever reason, the only console it could work on perfectly was the Nintendo Switch, was Monster Hunter Rise, which is, again, open world. You're accomplishing these like 4K res, like monster fights with dragons and trolls and all this other stuff. But Nintendo Switch, for whatever reason, was the only thing that could handle it.
That's fucking wild, because you also hear about like the developers of like the one anime mashup versus game.
Oh,
that
yeah.
That is developed by like a mobile app.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how fucking cheap of those motherfuckers to do that.
No, it's a lot of things, because you're talking about the Shonen Jump one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and like these are famous characters. Like you're really doing like One Piece versus the Dark Magician Girl versus Goku versus like all this other stuff, and it's just like
asshole.
It's disappointing, because it's like it feels like Nintendo has to come out with another console, not because the Switch is old enough that they need to replace it, but because they've run out of everything for their games on that console. Because it's like, if the most popular fighting game in the world is Super Smash Brothers, they just released their last patch for Super Smash Brothers for the Switch. It's like they, just from a business perspective, they're totally going to release a new console just to try to sell you on something new. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That is not going to give you anything new.
Right, absolutely. And that's the thing about like Nintendo that everyone's always bitched about, is that like
nostalgia bait.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's like Super Smash Brothers Melee for the GameCube is the most popular Super Smash Brothers game professionally, because it's so streamlined and like it never changes, and like it felt so perfectly balanced on release, right?
They have competition still this day.
That's what I'm
regular
saying.
TVs and
but,
regular
but like
GameCubes.
the bigger they get, the more likely Nintendo is to shut them down, because Nintendo no longer supports Super Smash Brothers Melee. It's just the most recent one. So you have this really dedicated fan base that is down to spend money on a game being shut down by this company that's like, no, you need to play this game that has 64 characters, not 16 playable characters. And I know it's not at all balanced, and we rebalance it every 3 months, but this is all you get, and that's the only thing we're going to allow anything to be able to stream or whatever, because it's like, even if I wanted to stream Melee gameplay on like Twitch or something like that, Nintendo's going to shut me down, because they're going to claim copyright rights, because they only want people to buy their newest game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's so disappointing.
Well, I don't know if you heard, but recently Sony is in the talks of merging their PS Plus with their PlayStation Now.
Yeah.
Maybe PS View.
Right. So then we'd get like PSP, PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4 games on the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know why that's not already a thing, and I don't know why that's already...
Well, bro, like, I've been playing PlayStation since forever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When you get your PS3, you're like, okay, I need to get PS Plus to play online. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
$50 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I don't give a shit.
Right.
And then they come out with PS Now, which is I don't know if it's PS Now or PS Play or something like that, but it's like a streaming service. And you gotta pay another $20 for that. And then PS View, which is the video game streaming playable service, and that's like another like $50.
Right.
Nobody's gonna fucking do that, and that's been like a meme of it.
But I think they will. That was the joke about the Nintendo system, when it's like, hey, like you're already paying $30 a year for the Nintendo Online service. Pay another $20, you get the N64 games. People jumped on that shit right away. That's what I'm saying.
But right now, your PS Plus for a year is $50. They say they're gonna include PS Now and PS View into it. How much is it gonna be?
An extra, I could not imagine
70,
it being more than another
80?
20. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's gonna be like $60-$70. And I honestly think people are gonna jump on it. I really do.
I would, because I want to play what's the apocalyptic game? Fallout?
Oh yeah. The first like 3 Fallouts. Well, the modern adaptations of Fallout. So it was like Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout.
I heard the first 2 are the best.
But those are like super old, like old Elder Scrolls engines.
But see, the thing is that PlayStation, Sony, you can play those if you have the PS Now or PS View, whatever fucking other subscription they have. But that's on top of your fucking $50 a year PS Plus subscription.
Right.
So nobody wanted to pay for that.
Right.
I remember I looked up the first Fallout. It was $100 in the PS Store.
Wow.
And that's a PS3 game.
Wow. Honestly, even if they just... It's because... I know they advertise Fallout as part of this, but like Elder Scrolls, the company that makes Elder Scrolls and Fallout just got bought by Microsoft. So they're going to start trying to monopolize it on the Microsoft systems. So if Fallout is your selling point on these, I wouldn't go for it, because it's like my favorite games by what's that company called? I can't even remember. It's like a super famous company, but my favorite games was Elder Scrolls 3 Oblivion.
Don't take my comment about Fallout to be my bargain point about this whole thing. That is a great game. I want to play Metal Gears. I want to play Tekken. I want to play
Bethesda.
Yeah.
Bethesda.
Yes, Bethesda Studios.
Right, but you want to play non-Bethesda games, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
like you have a selling point, but beyond the Bethesda games.
Yeah. And now that PlayStation is doing that, I really hope it doesn't jump to $100.
It's because they're like, even from a sustainability perspective, like I end up having to incorporate like cost into like a lot of the things I try to do for work, right? So the past week, El Paso got its panties in a bunch because the Public Service Board is considering a $6 a water bill increase for capital improvement projects, right? And if you go through your water bill, especially, I'm talking exclusively in El Paso, like 50% of your bill is environmental services, right? So it's not even El Paso Water offering you that part of the bill. It's like picking up your trash, it's the recyclable, all that stuff. But CIP, Capital Improvement Projects, is telling the Public Service Board that they need an extra $6 a month per customer on average so that they can get in line for a city system that is twice of our capacity, which is San Antonio. And that would put us in line with about 50% of what they would be with the $6 a month increase, right? Mm-hmm. So then you have an entire city upset about this extra $6 a month that don't understand what's happening. They're like, why do stormwater systems not work? Why do wastewater systems not work? And when you need this extra $6 a month, it's just like, that's why. That's the missing part right there.
Variable.
That's the missing variable. And we're relating this all to video game prices, don't get me wrong. But it's kind of one and the same. You know what I mean? The point I'm trying to make is, what is the tolerance of the user base? Like you were saying, Aldo, if you're going to increase by $30 a year. That's kind of a lot for a lot of people. Because on paper, when that bill comes in at the end of the year and it's like $100 as opposed to $60, $50, it's going to feel a lot different at the time.
Absolutely. To your point of the upset of this $6 increase, it just sucks because it's not just that. It goes way deeper to like how much you're getting paid, how much, medical assistance you get, how much. It just goes overboard to what the people are thinking, But if we go back to video games, what do you think about the Elder Rings video game, the open world fantasy game with Miyazaki's son?
Oh, okay. Elder Ring is the From Software production. It feels like Elder Scrolls,
but it's open world.
Right.
Humongous open world.
Or not like Elder Scrolls. What am I thinking of? I think of the
Skyrim.
Right. It's I think it looks great, but what sucks about games like that when I look at them now, it's like it looks like I can recognize right away. It looks like it's going to take a lot of my time, which as a working professional, by definition, that means
you can't afford it.
Right. Because it's like I miss being able to play games in like high school or like my early years of college and being able to beat a game in a weekend. You know what I mean? I remember when Halo 3 came out, one of my best friends at the time was the ADD kid in class. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's weird that it took me so long in my life to realize that I'm probably partially ADD, ADHD when like all my friends in high school were like diagnosed ADD, ADHD people. And we could sit down on Halo 3 release weekend and beat the storyline at the hardest difficulty in like one sitting in like 36 hours. You know what I mean? Like we would just not leave my room for 36 hours. It feels like one of those movie memes where it's just like mom coming in and be like, "You need food? Yeah, we need pizza. Bring it in now." Like those
bring
kind
in
of
the toilet.
Exactly. Like the Cartman episode of the World of Warcraft or whatever. Yeah. And like you sit down and you can really beat a game in one weekend. But right now, like I'm a professional. I can't. I don't.
It's not feasible.
I literally can't do that. As much as I try, I literally cannot beat a game like that in a weekend.
And dude, I feel so bad. I know you got me Okami, or what is it?
Okami, yeah.
Yeah, Okami. You bought me that game. Thank you very much, bro. I love it. I did play some of it, but with the kid, with everything, like I can't just come up here to the podcast room and like start playing the shit without having any crazy shit going on,
Right.
But as far as like thinking with like the Elder Ring, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, Elder Ring. Yeah.
Elder Ring. I guess you get to appreciate those fast moving games like Mario Party, Mario Golf and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing compares to having a fucking D&D fucking session.
No, absolutely. And that's what's kind of disappointing because like I think like a lot of what originally got the group together that created this podcast was like mock draft D&D sessions, because it was me buying a D&D like starter kit and then me hitting up like Lloyd, who I'd been comfortable with since high school, who hit up you, who I was loosely associated with through him, and then we got like different parties involved and we started creating a D&D party out of it, which like honestly, I know of an ongoing D&D campaign that plays at one of the card shops I frequent. Like, if you wanted to, we could interject on them on every Thursday and Friday. But there's a lot of, like, storytelling that you see in video games, and it's until you associate yourself with, like, in-person role-playing that, like, you understand where, like, these video games are coming from.
Absolutely, yes. And that's why I found the Elder Rings interesting. Maybe it's not something that I can put like 36 hours at a time in.
Right.
But I'm sure...
Everything's such an impossible investment right now. That's what's so hard.
But I'm sure, and I hope, that this game has like small goals.
Right.
Because like how I was talking about Breath of the Wild, the reason that I was invested in it is that I could just do maybe a couple of shrines here and there, you know, and work myself up to a goal.
Right.
But then I found out that this little burst of time that I had for myself to beat a couple of shrines didn't fucking matter to the end goal.
Yeah.
But I feel that we could do a podcast episode about just us having a session and just continue that session throughout episodes. But I miss RPG. I mean,
no, I do too. Don't get me wrong. Like, Legend of Zelda is probably one of the most classic RPG titles ever. It's just I'm not opposed to it, don't get me wrong. Like, I love everything Legend of Zelda. Well, I was telling Karen literally this week, like, one of the first... Before I actually got tattoos, you know when, like, you think of tattoos you would want to get before you start getting tattoos? Mm-hmm. Like, one of the first tattoos I ever considered getting ever was probably, like, a Triforce tattoo. Just because I felt so strongly about the Legend of Zelda series. But, like, when you sit down and think about it, you're just like, wow, that's fucking lame. Like, unless you have a lot of, like, themed tattoos like that.
I wouldn't hate on it. I would love a Triforce tattoo on you. And myself, too.
No, yeah, it's not that I'm opposed to it. It's not that I'm talking down about it. It's just like...
You need to find a right...
Yeah, I need a proper interpretation. Like, if it was, like, not just a Triforce, maybe I'd consider it. But, like, how else do you redo the Triforce unless it's from, like, a real Legend of Zelda aficionado?
Yeah. Like, for myself, I can think of, like, maybe doing, like, one triangle being my girlfriend, one triangle being my son, and one triangle being me.
Yeah.
And I could, like, incorporate that into a cool tattoo that I know that is not just a Triforce.
No. That makes perfectly sense to me. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I do want to go back to the board game thing.
Okay.
You know? We played Cthulhu's...
The Call of Cthulhu.
The Call of Cthulhu a long time ago.
Yeah, it's already like a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And the Call of Cthulhu is... once you loosely associate with yourself with board games, you realize that there's whole board games that are published around D&D style gameplay. Mm-hmm. Right? So, like, they're... And the 3D, like, D&D style gameplay. Like, around the, like, trying to build a dungeon around a certain...
Build up
randomized goal kind of point. Mm-hmm. And that's how the Call of Cthulhu felt. And it's just... it's really hard to play games like that. Because it takes, like, an hour of sitting down just to figure out the rules. Yeah, the actual gameplay. And then you have to convince everybody else that while you're trying to figure out that, there's a whole 3-4 hours of actual gameplay afterwards. And it's just... It's a nightmare trying to play games like that sometimes.
From what I remember, we got, like, the hardest monster for our play that time. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, our girlfriends are down. Mm-hmm. But for an extended period of time, you know?
Yeah.
We're playing the Call of Cthulhu with one of the hardest monsters
Which, like, the game randomized the monster for you. And it just randomly gave us, like, the hardest monster.
And once you summoned that monster, after every turn, he has a summoning call.
Right.
Which, after that, you only have, like, 10 moves to defeat this monster or not let him in to our dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And we just fucked that.
It's just hard. Like, games like that are super hard. Because that's why people make, like, D&D parties with people that have been playing for, like, 20, 30 years. Because it's, like, it's hard to not only get people used to that kind of gameplay, but it's, like, you need to have previous association with gameplay like this to be able to even, like, attempt at a game like this.
Yeah. It's a little fucky. But, I know we talked about Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like the first 3 episodes?
I did like the first 3 episodes. Like, and that's what I was saying a little bit earlier. Like, I feel like the advertisements made it seem like it was going to be a lot more childish than it was, which it wasn't. But it also wasn't super mature. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, it was very middle of the road, kind of like trying not to be too age specific, which is fine. Like, I thought it was super relatable for me, especially for a character like Hawkeye, which, like, the meme in the main Infinity Saga was like, he's the most underpowered Avenger. Like, by definition, it's literally just a human that's a previous, like, government agent that is able to, like, just shoot fucking arrows well. And he's really best friends with Natasha Romanoff. So, by the time you get here, and it's like, yeah, Natasha Romanoff is dead, the Avengers Initiative is basically put away because the universe...
Hydra and everything.
Yeah, well, not just Hydra, but, like, Thanos is put away, and, like, half the universe has been brought back to life. Like, there's all these aspects that are, like, more tightly knit that it's, like, now that gives the most humanist Avenger time to, like, make a name for himself.
I do like it. It's like a Christmas special kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, Guardians of the Galaxy it's gonna have like a Christmas special.
I didn't know that.
And I don't know if their next movie is gonna be a Christmas special, but Volume 3 it's gonna be based off of it.
I've never heard about any of that.
No?
Like, period. But, like, I think that's what's cool about, like, Hawkeye being Christmas themed. Because if like, the Disney Plus Marvel originals are only, like, 6-7 episodes anyways, like, that's so cool to start, like, a show in November, end it, like, the week of Christmas, and it's completely, like, holiday themed. Like, that's so just, like, neat. You know what I mean? Because if the shows are a sub delve in on, like, the Marvel universe, like, what are normal people really thinking in, like, Christmas time 2021?
And we had this conversation like 2 weeks ago that you were like, fuck, it's because WandaVision was so good that now it seems that the Disney Plus series of Marvel are just talking about the things that they want the theater audience to go back and look at it.
Honestly, that sounds completely accurate. I have no issues with that statement.
And have you looked at any Spider-Man?
Honestly, I'm scared for the Spider-Man No Way Home premiere because...
That's your favorite character. You told me before.
Literally my favorite, like, not just Marvel, but like, comic book character, period, is Spider-Man. And bringing, like, and my favorite adaptation of Spider-Man was the 90s, like, Spider-Man cartoon show. Absolutely. Where Spider-Man was a college student, right? Which is why at the time I got so excited for Andrew Garfield, but, like, I don't know if it was the studio or the director, Andrew Garfield as a person, but that shit was fucking ass.
They didn't go there.
Yeah, that shit was garbage. But reintroducing Peter Parker as not just like a nerdy high school student, and like, but tying him into what's led to be this Marvel main villain adaptation about it being a universe time-led narrative, and telling us that we're finally canonizing the rest of the Spider-Man characters, the other Spider-Man villains. What I'm scared of is I'm watching it that Saturday.
Me too. That's our Friendsmas.
Right. That night is our Friendsmas, and the issue is Avengers Endgame was spoiled for me, because you're waiting till that Saturday. Everyone's talking about it that Wednesday and Thursday, and that Friday. To like, you just need to like delete all social media until you actually watch it, or you're gonna be spoiled, like guaranteed. Because even if it's just like, I'm looking for Spider-Man No Way Home numbers that Saturday morning, I'm gonna click on the trending topic and it's gonna tell me spoilers, like right then and there, and then I'm fucked. And it's just, I know it's like a gripe that seems very minuscule, but it's something that like we've learned to like acknowledge, that everyone's gonna spoil everybody on something that just came out.
Mm-hmm. Did we talk about Disney Plus Day with all their new series?
We did a little bit. We did.
So I really love that the MCU was not scared to kick Iron Man and Captain America into a curve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just going with it.
Right.
I love that, and people are like, oh, bring Captain America back.
Captain America is back, technically, except Captain America.
No, but what I mean is like the character the Steve Evans played.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, bring Steve Evans back. Bring Chris Evans. Robbie Jr. Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, there you go, Robbie. Robert Downey Jr. They're like, oh, you guys got no. It's like, I love that they're just pushing through it,
mm-hmm.
and with the X-Men 97 show coming up,
mm-hmm.
I feel at ease that a lot of people think that Spider-Man No Way Home is gonna be this breaking point in the fucking multiverse, that Hugo Strange, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness is gonna be the breaking point.
Right.
But people tend to forget that when we got Phase 1,
mm-hmm.
didn't fucking mean anything until Phase 4. Now we're getting Phase 5.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are gonna do a new saga,
mm-hmm.
that means that we're gonna get Phase 5, 6, and 7 with a ultimate ending.
Right.
You know?
Well, what's the villain's name from Loki?
The Conqueror?
Kane the Conqueror.
Yeah.
For right now, I think we're led to believe that Kane the Conqueror is the end of part villain. I think.
But he's gonna be Phase 4 villain.
Well, we don't know that yet, though, because like he's totally going to be part of Loki season 2, which has been greenlit. But the nature of it being a time multi-dimensional story is that this Spider-Man movie and Doctor Strange have to be a part of that discussion, which means that Captain Marvel is going to be a part of that discussion. And
so how is Multiverse of Madness gonna end?
We don't know exactly,
See,
but like I can't see Multiverse of Madness not having an explanation about Kang the Conqueror.
I feel like Kang the Conqueror is not gonna be as
important as we think he's gonna be.
Yes, I feel like by the time we get to Multiverse of Madness, I feel like he's still gonna be there, but he's not gonna be big bad guy.
I don't know who else it could be though, because like if you're thinking like Marvel storytelling, it's like who are the big bads in Marvel?
But then again, think about it. Like they just got the X-Men. They just got.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, you think Marvel biggest bads in the Marvel universe? It's Thanos. Okay, we beat Thanos.
I feel like Khan is gonna be the Loki.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Hold on. It's like really like number it down. It's Thanos. It's Kang the Conqueror. It's Doctor Strange. Like we were saying about like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four introduction. It's Galactus. And then that's like it. Like when it comes to Marvel, those are like the 4 biggest bads. You know what I mean?
Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four.
Well, I said Doctor Strange. I meant Doctor Doom. So like that's what I'm saying. It's like Thanos, Doctor Doom, King the Conqueror, Galactus. Besides that, once you like, those are our only options for these next 3 phases. So. I see your point. Like, I agree with you. Like, I'm totally excited for a Fantastic Four introduction. I'm totally excited for a Doctor Doom introduction. Excellent. That would throw, like, a wrench in absolutely everything in the best way possible. But it's like our options are limited besides those 4. Which, I could totally see them making it universally expansive right now and making it either King the Conqueror or Galactus as the big bad for this part. And then they save for the next 10 years after that the Doctor Doom introduction. Which could totally throw the lid on all of that other stuff. Because then you bring it back down to Earth. And not only that, he's totally a more capable villain than all these universe-wild... Yeah. Like, Thanos' big bad was like, hey... like
I got the gauntlet.
What? Well, he had a moral conflict there that was like, hey, the galaxy has a finite level of resources, so if we get rid of half the population...
But what made him the big bad was the gauntlet.
Right.
In comparison to, like, Doctor Doom, like, he is the gauntlet.
Yeah. Like, Doctor Doom could accomplish any of that stuff entirely on his own.
I am very excited about the No Way Home movie. It's obviously Sony has to have their hands in it. Obviously Disney has to have their hands in it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Spider-Man, if nothing is like in contract, we might not see Spider-Man for a while.
No, they already announced that they've already greenlit 3 more Spider-Man movies with the what's his name, the current Spider-Man as the main actor.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. Yeah. They've already announced that like after this movie, which is the 3rd Tom Holland movie, they've already greenlit, co-produced Sony Studios and Marvel Studios.
Oh, really?
3 more Tom Holland movies.
That's great, but then again, 3 movies in context of our Infinity Saga means nothing.
It is and it isn't, because that would give Spider-Man 3 more films than Iron Man ever had. Because
you have a good point.
Because after Iron Man 3, there were no Spider-Man movies, which Spider-Man 3 ended in like 2006, 2007. And then we had 4 Captain America movies, we had 3 Thor movies, we had 3 Avengers movies. So they're literally admitting that like Spider-Man is probably the go-to Avenger for the next 10 years or so, which is crazy to think about in and of itself. Which like I love, don't get me wrong, because I love Spider-Man, but you're admitting that you are dedicating a lot of storytelling around this one character who is not this universe-wide level threat like everybody else.
Yeah, you're right. It's I hadn't heard about that news, but I mean, 3 movies. It's really good. It's
they might that would go into the more of the Universe of Madness stuff, because one of my favorite plot lines from the Spider-Man 90s like animated TV show was the Madam Web storyline about how like there's multiple universes with multiple Spider-Mans. Like you can get Noir Spider-Man, you can get it's like the the Miles Morales like animated original film. It's like that a little bit, where you have like Spider-Man from all these different universes that are being brought together by Madam Web, and then Madam Web is kind of manipulating everybody at the forefront, and then but you could also get those Spider-Man Universe 99 films, which is my favorite Spider-Man because it's 99 is my favorite because it's like not only are Carnage and Venom still part of the storyline, but it's like
dark,
just like this evil future. Where
like Batman Beyond shit.
Yes, exactly. It's Batman Beyond, but Spider-Man.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't hear about that news about the next 3 movies. I mean, for me, it just seems that they're getting the young Avengers into a group for this part of the saga, for this phase 4 of what the new Infinity Saga is gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine how they will bring in Fantastic Four. I can't even imagine how they'll bring in the X-Men. Deadpool being in the mix already, like they have greenlit Deadpool 3, and
under the Marvel Studios banner,
rated R, you know what I'm saying? So it's wild. It's wild with that shit. What else have we got here?
Honestly, I don't even know. Like it's these are all valid points that we've been meaning to bring out for like a couple weeks already.
I missed Dune on HBO. I haven't watched Dune.
You should still watch Dune on HBO. It's still available.
No, it's not there anymore.
It's not?
No.
It was still being advertised yesterday. I don't know where it was being advertised on, but like
I was gonna watch it last night. It's not there.
Like Dune is literally my favorite film of the year. Like it's the best adaptation of a hard worked book I've ever seen in my life. It's so like it's excellent. Like I literally had no gripes coming out of it.
I wanted to watch it. Unfortunately, I didn't get time to watch it on HBO Max. What else? Do you have any comments on the new shows for Marvel?
None yet. They all seem good. Don't get me wrong. Like
what are you looking forward to?
I'm still watching. Well, what's it called? The guy with the split personality. The white the
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. Thank you. Like yeah. Moon Knight obviously is probably going to be like that actor
Isaac something.
I almost said Morales, but that's like a different character. But yeah, Isaac. Whatever his name is, yeah. It's like I'm super excited, and they're gonna be good. It's just it's like what we're saying about the whole like Hawkeye thing. Like it doesn't matter until it happens because unless it's in perspective,
Kate. He's setting up Kate.
What
the girl?
Oh yeah.
So it's not really a Hawkeye show. It's about setting up
Oscar Isaac.
There you go. It's not about his show. It's just him setting up the new Archer.
No, absolutely. It's just a lot of the shows that were announced on Marvel Day are clearly like in between productions.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all to set up like ongoing movies or shows that they think are going to be as big as like WandaVision or something like that. And Oscar Isaac, like as opposed to popular opinion, I absolutely love the Star Wars sequels.
Oh, okay.
Like I think they were really, really good. Well, except for the second one, but it makes more sense after
Oscar Isaac was there?
Yeah. He's
the sequels?
Yeah. Oscar Isaac is he's one of the main rebels in the sequels.
Isn't it Diego Luna?
No, Oscar
from Rogue One. Oh, you're right. Yes. I forgot.
He
Finn's partner. Best friend.
Finn's boyfriend.
Yes.
Finn's boyfriend from the Star Wars sequels is Oscar Isaac. And like, I think he did well with what he was given. You know what I mean? Like, I think they didn't leave him with a whole lot, but I think it made sense in context, and I think he's a very capable actor. And like, I know a lot of people, I saw that some people on like Twitter and stuff got like upset with him. Because he did like an interview where they were like, "Hey, why are you still acting in Disney productions? Because they fucked you over in the Star Wars sequels." And he's just like, "Well, I needed another house." So the joke there is that like Disney is clearly paying him handsomely to appear in these sequels and like these subsequent shows. Which like I don't hate him for that. Like for what? Like if there were any fallouts in any of the productions he was in, he was not one of the reasons.
Correct. Yeah, he's a very capable actor. I do love seeing him there. From the Disney Plus Day, if anything, I feel like Moon Knight and She-Hulk are gonna do the best.
I don't think She-Hulk's actually gonna do that well, to be honest. Because She-Hulk, by definition, is about a female lawyer jokingly
defending
superheroes and learning how to also function as like the female Hulk, right? Which like is not the most serious plotline. Like she is by definition expected to be a joke.
I feel like she's gonna do a lot more for Phase 4 because one of the reasons that they didn't include the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, in a lot of visuals was because it was very expensive to make as far as CGI. Mm-hmm. But I think this is the way of them making up for the...
Yeah, we're finally getting... Like, I know a lot of people, when it came to the Endgame and Infinity War storyline, were fucking upset about, like, the emphasis that was played on Mark Ruffalo's Hulk not being able to come out. Like, it was a very prominent plot point, and it was never resolved, and it was just always kind of there. Mm-hmm. Which was really annoying, because, like, if you think about, like, the last Endgame fight on that plot of land where they're fighting Thanos' army, like, imagine if the Hulk was actually there. Like, if the Hulk was actually there, tearing apart people's limbs, trying to beat Thanos in the fucking face. Like, it would have been a much, much easier fight and a much more streamlined storyline. But it wasn't, because us as an audience had to cope with Mark Ruffalo's character is having this issue with containing the Hulk and doesn't want him to be around. Mm. Which, whatever. I don't know.
I mean, what other previews did we get? We got Moon Knight, we got She-Hulk, we got what is it? Weapon Wars, or what is it called? The one with War Machine, and
I can't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about. Like, War Machine's basically getting his own show.
Correct. I believe it's like Arm Wars or some shit like that. Uh-huh. What else did we get? Ms. Marvel's, which is gonna be Ms. Marvel, the black girl from WandaVision. Mm-hmm. And Little Miss Marvel, which is gonna be the Puerto Rican looking girl. Okay. But she's multi-dimensional, and everybody was mad that she was Puerto Rican.
Well, I know a lot of people are excited for Agatha House of Darkness because Agatha was one of the most popular characters in WandaVision. And where we left her was she was just like kind of trapped in her own mindset because Wanda just kind of like trapped her in a psychosis, a la like some kind of Naruto Shippuden kind of thing. Uh-huh. And just like trapped her in her own like world, you know what I mean, in her own universe. So, I don't know if Agatha House of Darkness getting its own 10, 12 episodes is obviously significant for the main storyline. So, I don't know if that's going to mean it's a prequel or if that's going to be a sequel to WandaVision and, like, the significance there. Okay. Because, like, the most popular couple costumes this past October and Halloween was literally like the 1970s version Wanda and Vision. So this is obviously going to be a really big deal because Disney knows and Marvel Studios knows how big like WandaVision was.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people have been talking about Matt Murdock, the guy from Daredevil, coming up in No Way Home. Mm. It will be awesome if the MCU attached to Disney will be willing to spend the money that they can ask for. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
It seems like a real stretch.
Uh-huh.
But as far as a lawyer,
uh-huh,
maybe what's his name? Charles Cox?
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy that played Matt Murdock in the Netflix adaptation of the Daredevil.
Uh-huh.
I feel like they would pay him for an episode, but I feel like that's where She-Hulk falls into.
I could totally see it as like an after credit scene. I do not in any way seeing it as being like a main storyline.
But going up to the whole live adaptation, what do you expect from like the One Piece?
The live action One Piece, I think it'll be a solid 5-6 out of 10. Because I like that Oda is actively involved. But the fact that the production is coming from Netflix loves to pick up live action originals, right? And that's because live action originals are cheaper to produce than animated originals. Okay, I understand that. But they not only like to cut corners that way, but they cut corners in that the live action adaptations feel cheap in and of themselves.
Correct.
Exactly like the Cowboy Bebop live action adaptation. Like it feels so cheap. Like that's like the Cowboy Bebop anime is not only hyper stylized and has great musical production and has great animated production for the 90s, but it in no way ever, no matter what the scene, feels cheap. Ever. The live action adaptation feels cheap all the way around. Every aspect feels like corners were cut to produce that scene. And I don't expect any less from the One Piece movie. I really don't.
There's a big ass gap that we don't know when we say that Oda has his hands on it. Mm-hmm. You know? From what I know from One Piece, from what I watched, you know, almost 300 episodes in. Mm-hmm. They could either go to really produce the sentimental aspects of the chapters that they're going through, or they could really go into the fighting aspects of that of the chapters that they're going through.
I think it being live action automatically means that the fighting's going to be worse.
Correct.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't see everything else around it being that much better just because of it being a live action production. I think we saw that a lot when it came to the most recent Avatar: The Last Airbender adaptations.
And they're working on a new one.
That they're working on another one. That there's just a lot of things that you just cannot reproduce. You know what I mean?
Because that anime.
When it's in an animated medium. And I wish that these production studios understood those limitations. Because to the rest of us, it feels so much more like, how could you not know? How could you not know that there was these limitations there?
And to me, at one point, like when I think about like all the different artists working on Akira, Miyazaki working on 40,000 different cells of the movie.
Howl's Moving Castle or
Howl's
anything
Moving
else?
Castle or Kiki's Delivery Service. To me, it seems because when you're talking about Netflix, like how we were talking about Stone Ocean, oh, you're mad that they're giving you this amount of the story, and then you have to wait, and then this amount of the story.
Right.
It's like your audience is there.
Mm-hmm.
Your audience is there. Like, work on the material to show what you want to tell as far as whatever they pick to tell on the One Piece live action. Because from what I heard is like after time skip, you know? So you can upset a lot of people whether you do it super good or not.
Right.
But as far as the live action theme with the MCU, with fucking Spider-Man, with JoJo, with Dragon Ball has done a shitty fucking work of doing live actions. Last Airbender, just give it some time. Netflix picks up everything, and it seems like they don't have enough money to like work around the really pop culture themes.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. It's wild.
It's just it feels like they spend so much money putting out this very wide net to encompass everything that they don't spend as much time, effort, and money producing individual efforts.
Yeah.
For me, crazy. At least. I don't know.
But, nerds, if you guys are listening up to this point, 3 hours and 50 minutes, please follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, any other social media, and any other podcast platform.
Just don't forget to use our giveaway. That's hashtag Our Nerds Matter. Hashtag OURNERDSMATTER, an original tweet or Instagram post to be entered into our December giveaway. And for every like and retweet, we will be donating to the National Alliance of Mental Illness Professionals in El Paso, NAMI El Paso. We will be donating to NAMI El Paso at the end of the month. And by using hashtag Our Nerds Matter, you will be entered into our December giveaway, and you get some cool free anime stuff. So,
again, congratulations to Karapika. I'm sorry, Karapika _goat. You are the winner of this month. So we'll be reaching out to you. We'll ask you what you like. I'm sure you like Hunter Hunter. So we'll get you something Hunter-ish. And as far as that's been Between Nerds. Next week we'll be talking about My Hero Academia Season 1.
This has been Between
Nerds.